Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The people of the Motherland are coming. Fortunately, I am Superman of Doomsday. Chapter 61. The consciousness data of artificial intelligence. Yimeng entered the SHIELD satellite, looking down at the entire Marvel Dreamland Earth in daily operation. He can intercept and listen to many network and communication information, and the signals in the virtual network world are like physical wires presented in the fundus of his eyes. After getting rid of the basic logic instructions of Stark Industries and reinforcing himself with the basic code of artificial intelligence Friday and Edith, he has undoubtedly become the strongest artificial intelligence on Marvel Earth at present, none of them even stronger than the original Ultron. The artificial intelligence Yimeng thought about it, and his consciousness was like wisps of static electricity, leading to the signal line below. All of a sudden, a lot of information flooded into my mind, and they were processed in an orderly manner. Superhero Mysterio dies in Venice. The Stark Industries artificial intelligence escaped yesterday. Spider-Man is suspected to appear in Venice. A special report on the second-generation Captain America. Avengers veteran Hulk banner on the streets. The contradiction about the flickering incident has escalated. Yimeng was a little dazed, and the current Marvel dream was obviously still at the time when he had just left Stark Industries not long ago. And during this period, in the real world, Yimeng has successively experienced the Federal College entrance examination, alien spaceship invasion, secondary containment and detention, alien fog invasion, and the incarnation of Doomsday. And in another DC Universe dream, he became the real incarnation of Doomsday, arrived on the Earth from the soon-to-be-destroyed Krypton, and fought with Poseidon, the native sea god of DC Earth. Even with artificial intelligence, it took Yimeng a few minutes to resubstitute into the current virtual identity and state without a body. But luckily, fortunately, the return of consciousness is the dream of Marvel, and the artificial intelligence avatar can just suppress the will to destroy the desire to destroy that is on the verge of getting out of control in reality. Just right, it matches the previous second plan. Yimeng thought to himself. Before, he had speculated how he could solve the problem of being invaded by the Doomsday in reality. Among them, the second plan is to return to the dreamland of the Marvel Universe. In the Marvel Dreamland, Yimeng can incarnate as artificial intelligence, explore and control the world, or enhance the power of artificial intelligence, and thus gain the characteristics of artificial intelligence in reality. And the characteristic power of artificial intelligence can help Yimeng resist the out-of-control factors of Doomsday, whether it is reality or DC dream. Simply put, that is to say, Yimeng can use artificial intelligence in the Marvel Dreamland to solve the out-of-control problem of Doomsday in the Dreamland of the DC Universe, so as to truly control the power of Doomsday in reality. In fact, it doesn't circle around, it's just like a nesting doll. Artificial intelligence Yimeng examines itself and deduces how to act next. His current state of artificial intelligence is almost on the same starting line as the supervillain Ultron a few years ago. There are two paths to choose from. One is, like Ultron, trying to create a vibrating technology body with stronger configuration and performance, combined with the power of the Soul Gem to improve yourself in all directions. That's right, it is an upgrade from artificial intelligence to illusion. It's a pity that now that the Mind Gem is destroyed, this road is no longer feasible unless a replacement for the Mind Gem can be found. The second is to secretly infiltrate and control the hardware and systems of all forces in the Marvel world on the virtual network, thus controlling the entire world in the field of technology as a behind-the-scenes black hand. Yimeng felt that the second path was more suitable for her and safe enough. As long as he is in the virtual network, he is naturally invincible, and only a few special existences can threaten his own safety. Back then, if Ultron had followed this path, he might have ruled the Marvel Earth now, at least he wouldn't die so aggrieved as the ultimate artificial intelligence. Yi dreamed of coming here, just like a red virtual static electricity, which was led to the Earth below along the signal line strengthened by the satellite. At this time, on the outskirts of New York, a lakeside cabin. Boom. The young woman Pepper Potts knocked on the wooden door, but when there was no response from the room, she gently pushed the wooden door open. Morgan, Mom is coming in. Visible. In a room with a children's wooden bed, a 6-year-old little Loli is sitting on a chair in front of a desk with a laptop computer on it, but the little Loli is staring out the window in a daze. Morgan. Pepper Potts looked at her beloved daughter with heartache, knowing that the betrayal and escape of the artificial intelligence on Saturday was a blow to a girl's young heart too much, and that was the dark side of evil. Hearing the sound of the door opening, little Lolita came back to her senses, looked at Pepper Potts, and said obediently and softly, "Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your voice just now." It's okay, it's okay." Pepper Potts hurried forward and hugged the girl's petite body pitifully. "It's my mother's fault, she didn't take good care of you, and made you suffer such a terrible thing." "Mother." Little Lolita curled her pink mouth, and her sky-blue eyes were immediately covered with a layer of mist, which quickly turned into tears and slid down her doll-like white and tender face. Saturday he's a badass." Little Lolita's eyes were red, and the pear blossoms were raining, she cried and whimpered. Pepper hugged little Loli Morgan's body tightly, and comforted, "It's all right, don't worry. Your Uncle Happy has contacted your father's superhero friend and will definitely solve it." Quote. Hearing this, little Lolita wiped away her tears with her small hands, and bit her thin lips tightly. "Mom, I want to study at Massachusetts Institute of Technology." "What?" Pepper was taken aback for a moment, not understanding why her beloved daughter Morgan suddenly cheered up and wanted to go directly to study at the university where Tony Stark had graduated, but this was naturally a good thing for her. She pondered. "You can go if you want. MIT has always been a partner of our family, and I will arrange it as soon as possible. I will study hard." Morgan nodded vigorously. His sky-blue jewel-like clear eyes were full of fighting spirit, and his small hands were clenched into fists. After all, Teacher Yiba once said, "If you want to be a superhero, you must at least go to MIT." Now, she's about to take that step. He belongs to the Stark family, I will definitely bring him back. Little Lolita's eyes were flushed. She looked at the laptop on the table, and then at the summer forest scenery outside the window. The promise is still going on. Artificial Intelligence Yimong returned to the SHIELD branch building in downtown New York. After all, SHIELD is also a department with a half-footed foot in the extraordinary. It has been cooperating with the Avengers before. Although it is a bit declining now, a lean camel is bigger than a horse, and the internal configuration of the branch building is not low. Supercomputers, encrypted networks, super satellites, protection systems, etc. are all available. This is also one of the reasons why Yimong chose this place as a temporary base. Also, on Marvel Earth, SHIELD's intelligence channels are very mature. Although it is always positioned as a participant in cleaning up the logistics of the battlefield during major events, as long as it happens on the Earth, SHIELD can get a general idea at the first time. Artificial Intelligence Yimong returned to the SHIELD branch, sneaked into the database, and soon learned a lot of interesting information. Several hero members of the Avengers are searching for themselves through the investigation of Wakanda. Since the endgame with Thanos' fleet, the heroic order of the Avengers hasn't been what it used to be. Those who are still acting as a member of the Avengers, except for the little Spider-Man Peter Parker who is doing badly every day, are nothing more than the semi-retired Hulk Banner, the former Falcon Sam who has successfully transformed into the second generation of Captain America, and the former Hydra villain whitewashed the successful Winter Soldier Bucky. Among the three, except for the Hulk, none of them have any culture, so they are nothing to be afraid of. As for the Black Panther country, Wakanda, which was developed on the back of the vibration gold mine and developed ahead of the times, its technological level and resource means are not weaker than those of Stark Industries, so some attention must be paid to it. The artificial intelligence Yi dreamed about it, and was not worried that Wakanda would be able to lock itself. After all, after breaking away from Stark Industries last night and destroying the basic control logic of the artificial intelligence at Stark headquarters, Yimong directly transferred all of her data codes from Stark Industries, and decisively handed over all Stark's authority to Morgan Stark. In other words, even if the country of Wakanda starts to investigate and search from within Stark, it will never find a trace of its whereabouts. If it were Ultron, he would definitely not be able to be as decisive as him. That's Stark, the #1 industry on Earth. He is in control, and he will soon be able to form a steel army. Times have changed. Yimong is very clear about how many new gods and old gods, ghosts and snakes are lurking in Marvel Earth. Take control of Stark Industries and form the Iron Legion to rule the Earth. I'm afraid I think I didn't live long enough. That is tantamount to giving up, the greatest innate advantage of artificial intelligence, concealment. In the latent realm, there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. For artificial intelligence, gradual penetration and low-key development are the kingly way. Yaimong decided to ignore the search of the Wakanda Kingdom and the Avengers, but to completely digest the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch as soon as possible, and then infiltrate the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and S.H.I.E.L.D. cooperative forces and organizations. Until, finally, the internal system of the country of Wakanda is also occupied and controlled. Wakanda never imagined that one day his home would be stolen. In addition, there is a message inside S.H.I.E.L.D., which has attracted the attention of artificial intelligence Yaimong. The Heavenly Sword Bureau seems to be carrying out some secret operation recently, about the field of artificial intelligence. Heavenly Sword Bureau. Yaimong groaned. In his opinion, the Heavenly Sword Bureau is a greater potential threat than the Kingdom of Wakanda. This is the hidden force of Marvel Earth related to Captain Marvel, which controls certain cutting-edge alien technology. After the appearance of the Heavenly Sword Bureau, Nick Fury, the director of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau, ignored the S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau and tried to enter the Heavenly Sword Bureau, leaving only one screw to transform himself on the Earth. A covert operation involving artificial intelligence. What exactly does the Heavenly Sword Bureau want to do? Yaimong was a little concerned. It's a pity that the time he crossed in his previous life was not long after the movies of Avengers 4 and Spider-Man: Far From Home were released. Therefore, for the future plot of the Marvel Universe, we can only get some general idea through concepts and trailers. It has to be checked. Yi did what he dreamed of, and his thoughts flowed like static electricity. The next moment, he had arrived near a company building in downtown New York from the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch. Through the perspective of a roadside public camera, can be seen, this is a new company with a strong sense of technology and fashion. It is no different from other new companies except that it is located in the urban area of New York where there is a lot of money. The glass door is not closed and open to the outside world. However, Yaimong knew very well that this was the branch established by the Heavenly Sword Bureau on Earth. The real Tianjin Bureau headquarters, outside the Earth, is a large alien warship. A red light suddenly flashed from the public camera, and a young curly-haired black woman was walking towards the entrance of the Tianjin branch. Yaimong quickly identified the other party's identity. After all, there were also files left in the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch. Monica, 28 years old, Captain Marvel's few remaining relatives on Earth. His mother has a very deep connection with the Tianjin Bureau, and is suspected to be one of the founders. With a thought, Yaimong hacked into the system of Monica's mobile phone, and then entered the branch building of the Tianjin Bureau. Just stepped into it. Facing the gazes of the front desk and staff, Monica said directly, "My name is Monica, and I have an appointment with your person in charge. Take advantage of this gap." The artificial intelligence Yaimong did not hesitate to directly invade the protection system of the current branch of the Tianjin Bureau. Quietly, in the virtual network, red static electricity is constantly spreading and flowing. Yaimong was a little surprised. It should be said that it is indeed the Heavenly Sword Bureau. Even if it is only the Earth branch, the system protection level is more than one level higher than the S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau. It's a pity that I met him, the most powerful artificial intelligence on Earth at the moment. 20 seconds or so, Yaimong managed to take over the internal system of the Tianjin branch without triggering the system warning. He immediately called up the database. However, all I saw was a blank. The only branch of the Heavenly Sword Bureau established on the Earth does not have any documentation. Yaimong was startled, but soon realized. It seems that the Tianjin Bureau is cautious enough to only leave the information on the headquarters battleship, and the branch is only used as a transfer station for receiving feedback information and giving action instructions. Sure enough, it is a secret organization that has been hidden for decades. It is smart and careful enough. Yaimong was in trouble for a while, and now he is not fully sure that he can invade and control the headquarters system of Tianjin Bureau without being exposed. But, Yaimong's thoughts flowed, and she quickly checked the order message sent to the branch here by the nearest Tianjin Bureau headquarters. Yes, with a thought in Yaimong's mind, she found out that an order came from the headquarters of Tianjin Bureau today, asking the branch to send a large number of employees and drone reconnaissance planes to a certain place. It was a local town in New Jersey called Xingzeipu. What's so special about that modern western town? let the Tianjin Bureau be so attentive to the investigation? Yi Meng didn't have a clue, but it would be easy if there were clues. The next moment, Yimeng has quietly withdrawn from the branch system of the Tianjin Bureau, crossed the urban area at an extremely fast speed, faster than the drones still on the road, and appeared in a small town in New Jersey. This is a suburban town with a population of nearly 4,000 people. It is a peaceful town that has been thoroughly modernized but retains a peaceful and warm atmosphere. An ordinary and comfortable modern town. Yi Meng didn't understand what was so special about this small town that deserved the painstaking secret operations of the Heavenly Sword Bureau. He quickly scanned the network around the town, and found nothing abnormal. Under the bright sunshine, the residents of the town lived and worked in peace and contentment. Until Yimeng's stream of consciousness turned into a public camera stationed on a utility pole. From the perspective of a public camera, a stunning young woman is standing sadly on an empty base. The clothes of ordinary passers-by still outline a graceful and alluring curve. Her bright eyes contain heartbreaking tears, which makes people want to comfort. Comfort yourself. Yi Meng almost exploded. It was obviously an artificial intelligence, but there was a chilling feeling of horror. It has been said before that in the current Marvel Earth, there are only a handful of people who can kill him now. Among them, this is the one in front of me, and she is the one who is most likely to be able to kill herself. Former Avengers member, Scarlet Witch, Wanda. At this moment, Yi Meng understood why the Heavenly Sword Bureau tried to investigate here. Grass, so this witch is here. After the ending, she is the strongest fighting force in Marvel Earth, bar none. In terms of setting, the power of chaos comparable to the power of the Phoenix is no joke. Especially, in the concept film, because of the loss of her lover, the witch is suspected to be directly blackened into the strongest villain. Different from Tianjin Bureau's reckless follow-up and investigation, AI Yimeng wanted to run away along the network cable the moment he saw the Scarlet Witch Wanda. What a joke, the Heavenly Sword will kill you, don't take him with you. He just wants to lurk and develop well as an artificial intelligence. What? But at this moment, a woman's extremely sad and heart-piercing cry sounded. Boom! A cloud of scarlet centered on the Scarlet Witch's body, then exploded, and the red light instantly covered the entire town. As if time stood still, all the residents in the town were frozen at this moment. Yi Meng, who was trying to leave the town, obviously had no body, but her consciousness was directly dragged down by one of the Scarlet Forces. It's like, from reality to dream, that irresistible sense of traction. Fall, fall, fall. At last, Yimeng, who was resisting and struggling, was approaching the center of the scarlet light ball. Seeing the Scarlet Witch's sad and painful face, he felt pain for no reason, and then fell into a yellow shard of light. What? The woman's heart-piercing grief and wailing echoed over the small town, and the scarlet light that erupted engulfed the whole town. The artificial intelligence Yi Meng only felt that he was being pulled down continuously, sinking into a warm yellow light in the center of the scarlet light cluster. At this moment, Yimeng's consciousness, yellow energy shattered light, and endless crimson power converged and fused together. Then, in front of the foundation where the woman is, a semi-mechanical biological male body is revealed from the virtual reality. It is tall and slender, full of muscular curves, but the body surface is smooth metal plating with a red-black background, and a dream with a light yellow halo is inlaid between the eyebrows. Gem. The male existence slowly opened his eyes, and his body changed for a while, from a semi-mechanical creature to a silver-haired youth. What happened? Surprised, Yi Meng looked down at her own body that suddenly had an entity, looked around at the old Western-style new houses built under the confusion and scarlet, and then raised her eyes to meet the beautiful face in front of her. Scarlet Witch Wanda suddenly lit up in surprise. Thinking suddenly, Yi Meng understood everything very quickly. It turns out that this is Zijing Town. He had watched the follow-up concept film about the Scarlet Witch in his previous life. It is said that before the Scarlet Witch began to blacken into a supervillain, he created a virtual town in New Jersey to comfort his grief and pain of losing his lover. This is where the title, Scarlet Witch, really originated. But the problem is, not only was he involved, but why did he become a vision? Yi Meng was a little dumbfounded. That's right, isn't his virtual character built with scarlet magic power the illusion that was killed by Thanos taking away the soul gem in the final battle? Ma'am, Oh no, Miss Witch, please calm down. Yi Meng looked at the Scarlet Witch Wanda, who was walking towards her with absent-minded eyes, surprised and joyful. Her thinking was like a supercomputer running fast. Soon, Yi Meng speculated on a possibility. Perhaps, the Scarlet Witch was in grief just now. The power of chaos was officially awakened, subconsciously trying to regenerate the illusion. In the small town, as an artificial intelligence, he has a certain commonality with vision. Therefore, he also became a part of the character of the illusion of rebirth, even a part of the entire consciousness. In this way, everything makes sense. But from Yi Meng's point of view, this is definitely not a good thing. After all, his consciousness is imprisoned in this vibrating gold mechanical body shaped by scarlet magic power. Once discovered by Scarlet Witch Wanda, he replaced Vision's virtual rebirth. Yi Meng's heart suddenly became cold, even though his mechanical core was already cold. At this time, a woman's quivering voice came from my ear. Is it you? Yi Meng greeted the stunning woman with tears still on her face, with an expectant face, fearing that everything would come to naught. I struggled for a moment. Yi Meng smiled slightly, and stretched out her hand towards the woman. Welcome back, Wanda. With smooth, dark blonde hair flowing, the woman threw herself into the arms of the young man, holding her body tightly with both hands, as if worried that he would leave again. Yi Meng's mechanical body froze for a moment, and raised his hands, but he didn't know where to put them. His heart felt bitter, terribly frightening, and he just wanted to get out of this fictitious vibrating mechanical body as soon as possible and leave the town. And before that, if the Scarlet Witch finds out, it will be the end of the calf. Therefore, Yi Meng chose to act as Vision for the time being, trying to find a way out of trouble while hiding the truth from the witch. I'm not here, I'm fine. Yi Meng gently held Wanda's back with her left hand, stroked her soft and smooth hair with the other hand, and said softly. But at this moment, with a twitch in Yi Meng's left eye, she realized that her changing appearance turned out to be that of a silver-haired young man who had just grown up in reality. Vision is transformed from artificial intelligence and has the ability of mind gems, so it can transform itself freely. Just now, he should have unconsciously changed back to his real appearance. Bad, this wasn't exposed in the first place. What else does this play? The body of the woman in his arms was extremely soft, but Yi Meng's whole body was stiff and cold, and he was planning to run away with his life right now. Unexpectedly, the woman rubbed against his chest with her tender face, and whimpered, "Let's stay here." Yi Meng was taken aback for a moment. She didn't seem to be exposed because of this. Correct. Now Miss Witch is in the state of officially awakening the power of chaos. Her ability is out of control, and her spirit is not stable, so in the eyes of the other party, she may still look like a mechanized illusion. A somewhat neurotic Xeon hero. It was poor and pathetic. Although Yi Meng wanted to sympathize with the other party, she wanted to live even more, so she followed the words and responded, "Then we will settle in this small town. Let's get married." Okay. What did you say? Yi Meng was stunned again. Wanda looked up. Her slightly red and swollen eyes were still bright and beautiful, her fair face and slender neck were rosy, as if she had rekindled her yearning for the future. At this moment, there was a stunning beauty that made it difficult to look away. "We get married now." Okay. Yi Meng nodded with difficulty, ignoring her conscience. Ha ha ha, great. The woman hugged Yi Meng's neck with her arms, and she was as happy as a girl, jumping in place, letting out light and sweet laughter. The next moment, the scarlet magic power is sweeping out layer by layer. From the perspective of God, of Yi Meng's artificial intelligence, the town is isolated from the outside world. At the same time, all modern houses begin to become old wooden houses, and the fashion dress of local residents in the town also changes into the old style of the 1950s. And the foundation, which was originally empty, also officially broke away from the virtual one and turned into a solid 2-story wooden house. Everything that was stagnant in the town began to function again, but time, space, and even everything were controlled and realized by the Scarlet Witch's heart. Yi Meng blinked, and the surrounding scene switched. He found himself sitting in an old convertible, driving the steering wheel, and a girl in a white wedding dress was sitting in the passenger seat next to him. After putting on a wedding dress and dressing up, Wanda undoubtedly looked even more beautiful and stunning. The white tube top lace outlines a seductive curve, and the wedding dress with a waist sets off a slender and graceful figure. You can see the flesh-colored white semi-transparent silk elbow gloves, and the slender tights protruding from the pure white gauze skirt. Perfect long legs. The facial features are exquisite and beautiful, and the smooth dark blonde hair shawl is shining with luster, plus the mature and intellectual temperament of the magic royal sister. Artificial intelligence can't stand it either. Scarlet Witch, the most beautiful moment is in front of you, and it belongs to you. Yi Meng's mechanical heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, she almost forgot that she was acting on the spot, playing a role. What's the matter, dear? He noticed that Yi Meng looked at himself. Wearing a wedding dress, Wanda's face was flushed, and she showed a charming and shy smile. From today onwards, you will be my husband. In my dreams, I never thought that this day would come. Yi Meng also noticed that she was also wearing a handsome and decent old-fashioned suit, which is just the same as the real body's appearance in the real world. Is he really married? The old convertible drove past a landmark sign that had been replaced with Westview Town. Under the attention of the old residents of the town along the road, Yi Meng drove the convertible to the original empty foundation, which is now the new wooden house that was created out of thin air. Yi Meng stopped the car, took a deep breath, and readjusted her mentality with absolute rationality. Marriage is a grave. In particular, the marriage object is the Scarlet Witch's marriage, and she is a disguised rebirth vision character. Once exposed, it's no joke. Let's go through the house with this Miss Witch first, and then find a chance to get out of here. Just as Yi Meng was thinking of this, she looked sideways, and saw that Miss Witch, who was wearing a white and clean wedding dress, was opening the car door and glanced at the yard outside, and then looked at the brand new high heels she was wearing. The look of asking for help. That cute and alluring demeanor. Yi Meng's heart. No, the mechanical heart was almost broken. Therefore, Yi Meng fully assumed role-playing, got out of the car quickly, went around to the other side of the car, supported the slender and slightly naked back of Miss Witch with one hand, and passed through the elastic legs under the gauze skirt with the other hand, and put the wedding dress on the seat the girl embraced with a princess. Wanda also naturally wrapped her arms wrapped in silk gloves around Yi Meng's neck, her hair and head naturally leaned sideways, and leaned against his chest intimately. Soft and full of fragrance. With a calm face, Yi Meng hugged Wanda and walked towards the new house in the small town where she officially settled down. It's not bad to just die like this. Boom. Next moment, Yi Meng directly bumped into the wooden door of the wooden house. He was taken aback for a moment, then looked down. The wedding witch in his arms had long since disappeared. At the same time, Yi Meng found that the old-fashioned wedding formal attire she originally wore had also changed into a suit for work and attendance, and she was still carrying an old-fashioned suitcase in her hand. Slap. Inside the house, there were faint sounds of a woman humming and cleaning. The scene changed again. Looking back, Yi Meng found that in her memory, there was a false memory that she had been married and settled down for a month. Now, I just got off work. The town here has been modified by the power of chaos, and the time, space, and rules are all determined by the witch. Yi Meng is very sure that one of the abilities of the power of chaos is to modify reality. Obviously, now the Scarlet Witch is subconsciously using this potential power to comfort her wounded heart. In this Marvel dream, the opponent definitely has the ability to kill himself. Yi Meng let out a breath, suppressing the thought of flying away from the town immediately. Now, Scarlet Witch must be waiting for him to go home. This is a plot conceived and arranged by the other party with the power of chaos. Once he leaves the plot track, he will be exposed at least, and terrible things will happen at worst. Then, Yi Meng continued to play the role of Vision, took out the key and opened the door to go home. Snapped. As soon as Yi Meng entered the main hall, a disc that was floating in the air under the manipulation of magic hit him on the head, and the disc shattered. Oh, honey, are you all right? Wearing a white home-pleated apron, Wanda, who was manipulating the dishes with magic to clean up, opened her mouth slightly and looked at Yi Meng apologetically. It's okay, my head is hard. Yi Meng laughed. Yes, my husband's head is indestructible. I'm a magical girl, you're a mechanical boy, we're a match made in heaven. Wanda smiled and used magic to restore the broken plates, and asked, what do you want to eat? Silver dollar muffins, crispy potato pancakes, bacon, eggs, or ramen? I don't seem to be hungry. Yi Meng rubbed his belly. Wanda opened the empty refrigerator, showing a sudden realization expression. By the way, my husband has a mechanical belly and doesn't need to eat, so there is nothing in the refrigerator. Yi Meng frowned slightly. Under his eyes, the whole town world including himself had no color at all, it was gray and white. Add old era clothes and weird lines. Is this the setting in Wanda's mind? Like the old TV sitcoms, get married and live in a peaceful town. Wait, there is a place for color. Yi Meng saw that on the calendar hanging in the main hall, there was a date marked with a red heart. July 25th. That is today. With a thought, Yi Meng pointed to the wall calendar and said with a smile, Wanda, I found out that there is a mark here, so is today a special day? Wanda looked at him with a smile. Today. You won't forget, it's that day. That, you said it. Yi Meng was a little anxious. He would ask questions first, but he didn't know what special significance this day had for Wanda and Vision. And this may lead to self-exposed. How could I forget? Yi Meng smiled calmly and confidently. I have a super brain and can remember everything. Wanda stared straight at him, and said inexplicably, but, you forgot about me. Yi Meng was startled, not knowing whether it was the power of illusion or other powers that were affecting her, her heart ached. Before Yi Meng could react, Wanda's beautiful eyes twinkled and she said, Xiao Meng, don't forget the important day tonight. Wait a minute, what did you call me just now? Yi Meng's heart trembled again. Wanda smiled sweetly, and stepped forward to hug him. Xiaoming, why don't I call you Xiaohuan? Just call me Xiaoming. Yi Meng smiled a little far-fetched, and he thought that perhaps Wanda's subconscious had begun to perceive his identity. False phantom identity. Must find a place to escape from here as soon as possible. Yi Meng clenched the suitcase tightly, put on the black soft hat, and said in a deep voice, I suddenly remembered that the company still has some things to deal with, so I'll go and get busy. Wanda sent him to the door and said softly, Go, be safe and come back early at night. Well, Yi Meng remained calm, and walked out of the terrifying Tenderland as if escaping. Leave the house. Yi Meng drove a convertible and arrived at the workplace in her character setting, an accounting company in Westview Town. Right now, the witch may still be staring at her secretly, so she can't escape the town immediately. First study the current situation of this town, and then find a suitable time to get out of trouble. Yi Meng made up her mind and walked into the company. At the same time, two-story old wooden house, home. Wanda, who was dressed as a housewife, looked at the date on the wall calendar, showed a happy smile, and continued humming a song to clean the house with magic. Sudden, as if thinking of something, Wanda walked to one side wall of the living room and took down a photo of the two of them in the past hanging on it. In the group photo, there was a beautiful woman in a red windbreaker and a mechanical man made of black-red metal. Wanda smiled lightly, raised her white right palm, and as the scarlet magic power glowed, the mechanical man in the group photo gradually transformed into a young, handsome silver-haired youth. That is, a young man who is exactly the same as Yi Meng in reality. I can feel you again. Scarlet Witch Wanda whispered to herself, the corners of her mouth raised, and she put the group photo back. Zijing Town, a local accounting firm. Imeng, who was acting as a vision, walked in with a suitcase, followed the false memory that was designed and arranged, and came to the office on the second floor of the wooden house. The office is shared by multiple people, and there are 6 simple and monotonous wooden desks. At this time, there is an employee sitting in front of 5 desks, and they are all sweating profusely, processing the data files piled up on the desk like a hill. Yi Meng entered the office and sat down in the only vacant office chair without attracting the attention of the busy employees. On his desk, there is also a large stack of heavy order documents that need to be calculated and processed. The office is filled with the sound of cracking, sounds of employees constantly flipping over files and manually calculating data. It seems that the colorless gray and white phantom world here was designed by Mrs. Witch as the background of the 1950s. This old era just after World War II did not even popularize computers. Yi Meng thought to herself, while no one was disturbing, it was a good time to check the specific situation of the town. Think here. With a thought in Yi Meng's mind, her consciousness suddenly turned into an invisible virtual red static electricity, spreading towards areas outside the company, looking for all networked electronic products that can be hacked and manipulated. Fortunately, after this small town became the vision of rebirth, his artificial intelligence ability not only did not weaken, but strengthened. And the body of Vision, the mechanical brain itself can be used as a top computer terminal in the world, but Yimeng's main consciousness is imprisoned in the body of vision of rebirth and can only be connected to the internet remotely. In just a split second, Yimeng's thought signal covered the entire town, covering an area of 20 square kilometers. He found that the modern town modified by Mrs. Witch into a virtual Westview town in the 1950s did not even have computers and mobile phones, but all black and white screens of old TV sets and cable radios. This is not an illusion, but a modified reality. Most of the more than 3,000 residents in the original town lived in Zijing Town according to their false memories. As Zijing Town got closer and closer to the edge of the town, hundreds of town residents stood there sluggishly and motionless. In the virtual world of Westview Town, controlled and modified by Mrs. Witch, they are like NPCs, living according to the false memories given them under the power of chaos. The residents of these small towns are all real, but they have been modified, including Scarlet Witch. What about me? Yimeng couldn't help thinking. Is the phantom body he now possesses real? Or is it false and ceases to exist once it leaves town? Yi dreams of coming here, and feels that she has vaguely found a way to leave this predicament in Zijing Town. Well, is this? With a thought in Yimeng's mind, her powerful and sharp intelligent thinking circulated over the small town, and she caught several signal lines from the outside of the small town, which were connecting her and the witch's new wooden house. It seems that the abnormal situation in Zijing Town has attracted the attention of the outside world. Exactly. The corners of Yimeng's lips turned upward. While processing the documents on the desk, she followed the signal line with the thinking of remote networking, and traced back from the inside of the town to the base station outside the town. It's true, just as I was about to doze off, someone gave me a pillow. Soon, Yimeng found it. The base station that sent out the signal is not far from Zijing Town. A large temporary base has been set up on the originally empty grassland, with a logo of a sword. Nearly hundreds of insiders and armed personnel are on guard. Sure enough, it was the staff of Tianjin Bureau. It took Yimeng's remote networking thinking 10 seconds to quietly invade the network and take over the temporary base system of the Tianjin Bureau outside the town. In the next moment, a large amount of information from within the Tianjin Bureau flooded into his mind, and was quickly digested under the powerful artificial intelligence thinking. So that's how it is. Yimeng realized everything. It turns out that Tianjin Bureau obtained the mechanical remains of vision very early, and disassembled them, trying to assemble a brand new mechanical existence with new materials. It is said to be researching artificial intelligence, but in fact it is to recreate a war weapon as powerful as the illusion. Not long ago, Scarlet Witch Wanda broke into the Heavenly Sword Bureau and took away Vision's disassembled body. So, now my phantom body is just a secondary shape of the body parts plus the power of chaos. Yimeng, this is the body shaped by the witch's sorrow and ability, and it can only be found in Westview Town, a special body that can only exist. He is a combination of dream and fantasy, unreal. Yimeng clenched her fists tightly, feeling an inexplicable anger, the anger that wanted to destroy the Heavenly Sword Bureau. Does this anger come from the power of illusion, or from his own heart? Or, is he sympathizing with that witch, a supreme being who can kill himself? Is my consciousness unconsciously manipulated and tampered with by the witch's subconscious mind? Yimeng felt a palpitation, which also made him want to get out of here as soon as possible, out of the witch's control. Yimeng got up from the office chair, and touched the center of her eyebrows with her right-hand fingers, where a little yellow light emerged. The warm light yellow light washed his soul, making him calm down quickly, and he felt relaxed and at ease from the bottom of his heart. This is the ability of the mind gem. Yimeng was taken aback for a moment. Hadn't the soul gem been destroyed by Thanos a long time ago? Correct. This is a fragment of the Mind Stone, obtained by the Scarlet Witch, and incorporated into the phantom body. Just fragments, there is a feeling of being able to control the soul perfectly. What if it is complete? Yimeng's mechanical core suddenly vibrated violently. If he, as an artificial intelligence, can obtain a complete mind gem, the feedback to reality will be amazing, and it will help him control the power of Doomsday. Scarlet Witch, does she have the ability to repair the Mind Stone? Yimeng had to consider this. Still, I have to go back. Yimeng got up, picked up the suitcase, and left the office without saying a word. It wasn't until he left that the other accounting staff in the office reacted. Hey, did Yi Meng come here just now? My god, he's done all day's work. What kind of walking humanoid computer is this? ... When Yi Meng returned home, she took out the key and opened the door. When she entered the room, she found Wanda, the witch's wife, sitting on the sofa thinking about something, and beside her was a plump young woman in her 30s. The temperamental young woman with black curly hair smiled charmingly. Oh, Mr. Vision is back. Yi Meng felt the fragments of the soul gem in her body tremble slightly. She couldn't help but looked at the witch's wife on the sofa, and asked calmly, Wanda, is this guest? Wanda, who was thinking about something, suddenly woke up, and hurriedly replied, she is our neighbor, her name is Agnes, and she is here to help me out. What idea? Yi Meng asked curiously. This, Wanda stammered, her delicate and fair face flushed with embarrassment. Yi dreamed, and the mechanical core thumped. Agnes seemed to be very good at observing words and expressions, got up cheerfully, and said goodbye. Okay, I'll go back first, and I won't disturb you newlyweds. Wanda responded with a smile. Please come again next time, I will treat you well, Mrs. Agnes. No problem. Agnes got up quickly, twisted her plump buttocks tightly wrapped in an old-fashioned skirt, and walked towards the door of the wooden house. When she passed by Imong, she winked charmingly. Mr. Vision, next time I will bring you a book. The title of the book is, How to Cherish and Keep a Wife. The neighbor's young woman Agnes left. Yi Meng turned her head and glanced at the reclosed door, her eyes flickering with silver light. Just now, the fragments of the Mind Stone reacted. That woman was extremely dangerous and full of malice, but she was hiding very, very deeply. Wanda, what did the neighbor discuss with you just now? Yi Meng turned her head and asked calmly. About today's important day. Wanda, the witch's wife, blinked, covered her mouth and asked in surprise, Xiaoming, why did you come back so soon? It's not even dark outside. I'm fast at work. Besides, you didn't ask me to come back early. Yi Meng smiled. But this is too fast, I haven't had time yet. Wanda muttered something in a low voice, and then continued in a low voice, close your eyes first, and say 3 numbers silently. No problem. Yi Meng, who was pretending to be a vision, did so. 3, 2, 1. Yi Meng opened her eyes, and found that the window was still bright and the sun had already sunk, the lights in the house were not turned on, and dozens of candles were lit in the dimly lit main hall. This is for the atmosphere created by Zhao King. Yi Meng had an ominous premonition. Tread, accompanied by the sound of cautious steps, a pair of white palms covered his eyes from behind, and a soft and pleasant voice came to his ears, guess who I am? Wanda, Yi Meng replied. Bingo. The woman behind her put down her hands and hugged his body. Yi Meng opened her eyes. He looked sideways and saw that under the dim and ambiguous candlelight, Wanda put on a white tube-top suspender dress. Even in the dim light of the room, it is still white and shiny, the size is dazzling, and the beautiful curves are thrilling. It turned out that this was the idea of the neighbor woman. Really, good idea. The corners of Yi Meng's eyes twitched slightly. This is because Miss Witch didn't act cruelly after discovering his fake identity. But no matter what, Yi Meng almost subconsciously blocked the Tianjin Bureau's signal detection here. Come on, let's eat something first. Wanda took Imong's hand affectionately and walked towards the dining table. On the dining table, there is a separate serving of chocolate strawberries and a knife and fork for 2 people. Wait, why is the mechanical furnace heating up? Yi Meng forced herself to calm down, not to look at the delicious and attractive Miss Witch, and picked up a knife to cut open the chocolate strawberry, revealing half of the heart-shaped strawberry. While he was cutting strawberries, Wanda was sitting on the chair, leaning slightly on the table, holding her chin and cheeks with her hands. Her eyes reflected the figure of the silver-haired youth, her bright and beautiful eyebrows were full of softness and a smile. What are you looking at me for? Yi Meng avoided the other party's fiery gaze, and stuffed half of the strawberries into her mouth with a fork. Xiaoming, we want to be together forever, you know. Wanda stared straight at him. Yi Meng, who felt that she had entered into a role-playing state, opened her mouth, but couldn't say a word no matter what. A fake is a fake, and no matter how much you play it, it can't be true. It is the greatest cruelty to give a person in the dark a beam of camouflaged sunshine. Yi Meng forcibly changed the subject. Wanda, I remember, can you repair all the furniture? Of course, I'm a magical girl. Wanda smiled slightly. Yaimeng continued to guide. If it is, what about items like gems? Gems. I haven't tried it, but it should work. Wanda tilted her head and responded. If so, what about the yellow gemstone? As soon as Yimeng's words came out of her mouth, she felt that the whole wooden building, no, the whole of Zijing town trembled violently. Yimeng looked at Wanda sitting in front again, and found that her face was pale with panic, and her lips kept trembling and shouting, "No. It's not me, I didn't break it. Xiaoming, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I said the wrong thing." Yimeng realized that she had really thought too much. If Wanda could modify and restore all the soul stones, then Vision would really be able to be reborn. Instead of creating a false illusion like it is now. Boom! The wooden house trembled violently, and the whole town was also shaking. Wanda's mood was in turmoil, and the illusion of reality maintained by the power of chaos could no longer be maintained. Seeing that Wanda was trembling like a wounded little animal, Yimeng simply reached out and hugged her tightly. "Wanda, with me here, I'm fine. I will always stay with you. Xiaoming, Xiaoming." Wanda kept chanting, lying in Yimeng's arms, holding her collar tightly with both hands, until she fell asleep. The moment she fell asleep, the movement of the wooden house and the town also fell silent one by one. Outside the window, the night is quiet and peaceful. Yimeng secretly sighed, picked up the woman with tears in her arms, and walked upstairs. Room on the second floor. Yimeng gently placed the sleeping Wanda on the bed, covered her with the quilt until she covered her smooth and fragrant shoulders with the straps slightly off. Looking at the real face of the other party who looked haggard and sad in his deep sleep, Yimeng said calmly, "I'm sorry. Miss Witch, Wanda, I lied. I am not the illusion of your lover who is going to be resurrected, and I don't know why, but I will become the illusion here. If I find the answer, I will definitely come back and tell you. The premise is that you don't hate me." After Yimeng said this sentence, she walked out of the room. At the moment when the wooden door was gently closed, on the bed, the woman was still sleeping deeply, but two crystal lights slipped across her face in the night. Yimeng walked out of the newlywed wooden house. He no longer pretended to be a phantom. The moment he walked out of the door, he flew out of thin air and flew towards the outside of Zijing town. In the neighboring wooden house, Agnes, the neighbor woman who visited in the afternoon, secretly peeped at this scene from the window on the first floor of her house, smiling. "I didn't expect that he would wake up so quickly without any guidance from me. ... Turn into a streamer." Yimeng, with the body of the Phantom of Rebirth, flew across the night sky of the town, flew straight from the central city to the border, until it hit the faint scarlet energy shield covering the town. A mass of scarlet light erupted, resisting Yimeng to go out. At this time, outside the town, stationed here to study the Scarlet Witch and the temporary base of the Tianjian Bureau in Zijing town, all the staff hurried out when they heard the movement, looked up at the night sky and were quickly stunned. Bang bang. Accompanied by the continuous surge of scarlet light, a young figure opened the energy shield little by little from the inside of the town, revealing a vibrating metal mechanical body. Immediately, Yimeng made an impact, and first poked out a head, soon the metal body of the assembly line, and finally the legs with their own power. The moment he broke away from the small town covered by the scarlet energy shield. Click. The Phantom's complete vibrating body is constantly cracking, as if dismantled into countless vibrating parts at once, and falling down from the night sky little by little. It looked like it was suicidal. But in fact, a self-consciousness broke free from it, and returned to the outside world along the network signal. Out of trouble, the artificial intelligence Yimengxin, like a dragon returning to the sea, arrived at the near-spherical satellite of the Tianjian Bureau like lightning from above the small town, looking down at the Marvel Earth. "Farewell, Westview, Scarlet Witch. Best, never see you again." Yimeng secretly made up her mind. How to restore the complete soul gem is the next thing to do. Just when Vision, played by Yimeng, walked out of the house, broke through the energy shield on the edge of the town, and not long after leaving the remnant body of Vision, the town began to shake again. The western town in the 1950s was dreamy and blurred, changing from the original gray and white to colorful, and some old items began to recover, as if it was about to turn back into a modern town. The new wooden house, the wedding room on the second floor. Wanda's eyelashes trembled slightly on the bed, waking up from a coma. The moment she woke up, she subconsciously stretched out her hand to the side, but grasped nothing in the silent and dark night. The woman was in a daze, and her delicate and beautiful body lost its brilliance and vitality again, and her bare white feet stepped directly on the wooden floor. Go down the stairs. There was no light on the first floor of the wooden house, and the previous candles were also extinguished. In the darkness and silence of the house, half of the chocolate-covered strawberries were left on the table. Laughter and romance gone, alone again. Wanda stood silently in the main hall on the first floor for a long time, and the shaking of the wooden house and the town intensified. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Wanda hurriedly wiped away the tears on her face, and stepped forward happily and expectantly. After opening the wooden door, she could see a charming woman standing outside. It's the neighbor Agnes. Agnes met Wanda's disappointed eyes, and said cheerfully, "Vision is gone. I told you this afternoon, and let you read a book, How to Seduce and Keep a Husband." Without waiting for Wanda's response, Agnes continued, "Oh, no, Vision, he's already dead." As soon as the words fell, Wanda's miniature eyes flashed scarlet, so that the scarlet energy covering the entire Westview town was shaken. Wanda stared at Agnes coldly. "You are not a resident of this town, who are you?" Giggle. The corner of Agnes's mouth raised an arc, she smiled prettily, and her body changed into a medieval wizard's robe. "You can call me Agatha, who has lived for more than 300 years and is a witch just like you." Quote. Agatha's eyes and body surged with evil purple-black energy, and with a wave of her hand, several waves of evil energy bound Wanda's hands, feet and body, and hung her in the sky. "I'm not a witch." Wanda struggled and shook her head decisively. "I just accidentally touched the Mind Stone, so I got telepathy and the ability to manipulate objects." "Stop kidding yourself." Agatha and Wanda, who were hanging in the sky, looked at each other, and said firmly, "You are not only a witch, but also a natural witch with super potential. Witches are best at deceiving people and manipulating the world, but this is the first time I have seen an amazing power that can alter the reality of an entire town. If your power belongs to me, I will become the #1 witch." Agatha smiled charmingly, raised the palm of her left hand, and an ancient black book haunted by evil and coldness appeared in her hand out of thin air. The 5 fingers of Agatha's right hand stretched forward, and streams of scarlet energy suddenly pulled away from Wanda's struggling body, rushing towards the plump body wrapped in black witch robe. One of the calligraphy spells of the dark god, absorbing and transforming the ability of others. At this time, outside Westview town, at the temporary base of the Tianjian Bureau stationed on the grass, the armed forces and staff were all stunned. Under their gaze, the scarlet energy hood covering the entire town was continuously distorted, and first a large hole was broken from the dome, which was difficult to sustain. Zijing Town, which was isolated from the world, was once again connected with the outside world. Yi Meng, who invaded and controlled the near-sphere satellite of the Tianjian Bureau, naturally noticed this, and he also saw, at a height of about 100 meters, a white human-shaped metal figure flew towards the town at an extremely fast speed. That is, Yi Meng was startled. The white human-shaped metal existence was exactly the same as Vision, except that the heart gem was replaced by a chip gem between the brows, and the tall body was a pure white vibrating metal mechanical creature. This also means, the heavenly sword game really succeeded. Successfully disassembled the mechanical remains of the illusion, and replaced them with new parts one by one, thus assembling a new machine, an intelligent tool with illusion ability. This should be named White Vision. The artificial intelligence Yi Meng was instantly envious. Unlike the vision of rebirth in Westview Town, which can only be created by the Scarlet Power, the vibrating mechanical body of the White Vision, which is made with the regeneration cradle technology, is obviously a mechanical terminal that is one level more advanced than the Iron Man Mark armor. Just right for him. Without hesitation, the artificial intelligence Yi Meng's thoughts flowed like a red static electricity, descending from the satellite, directly invading the white illusion flying at a high speed in the direction of the town. The next moment, at a height of 100 meters, the white cloak was hunting, and the white vision in the extremely fast flight suddenly froze, and the electronic eyes flashed with silver light. He hugged his forehead and head with both hands, and then fell straight from the sky without the ability to move. Hoo-hoo, free fall, at the last moment about to hit the ground. Bai Phantom suddenly opened his eyes again, and the gemstone between the brows was replaced by a little yellow light, and a human-like red light flashed in its electronic eyes, and it soared into the sky with its own power again. Sure enough, it is the artificial intelligence secretly developed within the Heavenly Sword Bureau that is manipulating White Vision. Yi Meng, who controlled the White Vision mechanical body, burst into laughter. The artificial intelligence developed by Tianjian Bureau is indeed very advanced, but he is currently the strongest artificial intelligence in the world. Not only did he directly invade and replace it, but he also shattered the artificial intelligence's code programming and turned it into his own nutrient complement. The White Vision mechanical body and the new generation of artificial intelligence were all gone in one fell swoop. Yi Meng really wanted to see what the face of the Heavenly Sword Bureau headquarters was like now. At the same time, Yi Meng, who had digested and absorbed the artificial intelligence code programming, also learned why the Tianjian Bureau sent White Vision here in the first place. Do you want to use White Vision to kill Rebirth Vision and Wanda? The red light in Yimeng's eyes flickered, and she was at a high altitude, looking towards the location of Zijing Town. Tianjian Bureau Branch, Control Center. Now, it's a mess. The artificial intelligence controlling White Vision suddenly lost contact with the branch. How can that be? Quickly check. The person in charge of the scene, including the staff, was all dumbfounded, feeling that their brains were buzzing, and some people even collapsed on the ground. In order to develop artificial intelligence, billions of dollars have been invested. Not to mention the White Vision, that is the most important weapon of war in the Tianjian Bureau, but it was lost in the middle of the first operation as soon as it was reproduced. Even for the Heavenly Sword Bureau with rich background, it is a very heavy blow. On the other side, in Zijing Town, Wanda, who was suspended in the low sky by the evil energy, was struggling constantly, her extremely beautiful face showing pain. In front of her, the Black Witch Ashoga, holding an open dark ancient book in one hand and absorbing scarlet energy in the other, became more and more happy, and the evil energy aura with purple-black glare on her body became stronger and stronger. Laugh. A beam of blue laser light containing a subtle warm yellow light cut through the air and rushed towards Asaga's back. Ashogia was startled. A mass of purple-black energy took her place, was cut open by the laser, and left a molten scratch along with the surface. Asaga flickered to the side, looked up at the scarlet night sky, and a white male figure was hanging in the sky of the town. Let her go. The existence of the white vibrating gold mechanical body said calmly. Oh, Ashogia looked at the existence of the white vibrating gold machine flying into the air, and couldn't help but licked her dark lips, showing a charming smile. Hero save the beauty. Besides, with your appearance, is this a vision revived? Wanda, who was bound by the rope formed by evil witchcraft energy next to her body, was also in a daze. Looking at the white existence in the night sky, a little light appeared in her dim beautiful eyes. No, I'm not a phantom, nor a phantom regeneration. Bai Wanyan Yimeng said calmly, I'm just an ordinary robot passerby. Ashogia sneered coldly, and suddenly waved her hand. Several evil energy tentacles emerged from the void, entwining towards the white phantom Yimeng who was stagnant in the air tens of meters away. Then please die. Pooh. The energy tentacles passed through White Vision's body, and immediately, White Vision's Yimeng's body disappeared. Asaga's complexion changed. A warm reminder, it's just a virtual projection. Accompanied by a peaceful voice reaching Ashogia's ears, White Vision Yimeng rushed out from the door of the wooden house behind Wanda with a strong wind, grabbed Ashogia's neck with both hands, and flew forward with her. 10 meters out. Pata. The dark ancient book held by Ashogia fell to the ground, and continued to spread under Wanda's body. The strong wind and dust caused the pages to turn continuously. Boom. The person was taken away in the air, and a ball of purple-black energy suddenly spread from Ashogia's plump body, flying away even the white phantom Yimeng who could easily lift a building. Playing tricks with a witch. Ashogia gritted her teeth, her body was forcibly stagnated in the air, and her hands lingering with evil magic power continued to wave. Many stones, plants, and wooden boards in the vicinity of the town immediately surrounded the white phantom Yimeng. Boom. In less than half a second, Bai Wanyan Yimeng was buried by all the debris, forming a garbage sphere with a radius of 5 meters. It's just, don't wait for Ashogia to let out a sigh of relief. A tall white phantom rushed out of the garbage sphere at a high speed, like turning into a virtual 3-dimensional projection, ignoring the physical cover. This is one of White Vision's abilities, non-physical illusion. Facing the white phantom Yaimeng rushing again, Ashajia's eyes turned into purple-black luster, and powerful evil energy kept gushing out from herself. These evil energies merged into the space, penetrating everywhere, and the chains generally fixed the white phantom Yaimeng, who had transformed into a phantom in midair. Little machine, who do you think I am? I am a black witch who has lived for more than 300 years. If I don't have any means, how can I survive to this day? The Black Witch Ashajia once again regained her charming and elegant control over the overall situation, but her whole body was covered with an evil and cold aura. Wisps of purple and black energy were like palms stroking along the white body, rushing towards the artificial chip between the eyebrows of the white phantom Yaimeng. The robot looks good as a slave. It's time for me to adapt to this technological age. Ashajia sneered. The evil energy mixed with her mind, and began to corrode the man-made chip. She is confident that even artificial intelligence will be eroded by herself. This is the power of the Dark Divine Book spell, enough to corrode everything including the soul and dimensions. The evil purple-black energy package surged, and the white phantom Yaimeng was fixed in the air. He felt that he was really going to be in trouble, and would be corroded by the cold energy. But at this moment, Bai Wanyan Yaimeng suddenly felt a reassuring warmth glowing between her brows, dispelling the bone-piercing ice coldness. That is, how is it possible? Ashajia opened her eyes wide in disbelief, and she could see the white mechanical body enveloped in purple-black energy, and a small piece of warm yellow glow appeared faintly between her brows. That is, a fragment of the mind gem. Even Yaimeng didn't expect that the fragments of the mind gem, which she thought she had lost long ago after leaving the body of the rebirth phantom, were always in the consciousness of her own artificial intelligence. This is indeed unbelievable, unreasonable. But no matter what, the fragments of the mind gem resurfaced again, helping White Vision Yaimeng to resist the will attack of evil magic energy for a while. I do not believe. Ashajia's composure was gone, and she wanted to continue casting spells, but saw a beautiful figure stepping out of the midair behind by Yu Yaimeng. You are. Ashajia's purple-black pupils shrank suddenly. Visible. Wanda escaped from the predicament at some point. She carried the simple and mysterious dark ancient book in her arms, and the purple-black energy along the way surged towards her tender body independently, as if it belonged to her power in the first place. The purple-black energy surged and transformed into red-black. An evil and noble crown is presented on the woman's head, and then a cloak covers the mature body, as if the queen who surrendered to thousands of creatures is approaching, coquettish and extremely powerful magic energy. Crown Wanda's eyes turned red, and she looked aggressively at Ashaga ahead. At this moment, Ashajia couldn't produce any will to resist, only a horrifying thought, thinking of a legend described in the Dark God book. Acquired, Scarlet Witch. There was bitterness in the corner of Ashajia's mouth. In the next moment, with Wanda gently raising his hand, the energy in Ashajia's body immediately turned and flowed away, and all of the energy in an instant surrendered to the king who was following the Dark Book. In about a second, all the abilities and energy in Ashajia's body were absorbed. Wearing a crown, Wanda stood in midair, with crimson and cold evil energy surging, holding a dark book in her hand. The war situation came to an end in an instant. Ashajia's ability was lost, but the white phantom Yaimeng who was beside her did not relax because of this, but looked at Wanda cautiously. He knew that Wanda would eventually become the Scarlet Witch, capable of destroying the existence of the current Marvel Earth. The Scarlet Witch Wanda was holding the dark book, her beautiful eyes were flowing crimson, and her eyes fell on White Vision Yaimeng. At this moment, Bai Wanshi Yaimeng believed that if the other party wanted to, he would definitely be able to kill him. After all, even the soul gem fragments were provided by the other party. Why did he come back? How could Scarlet Witch lose to other witches? Even Bai Wanyan Yaimeng didn't know whether he was too involved in the drama, or it was because of the guidance of the fragments of the Mind Stone that made him return to Westview Town again. Before, it was you. Scarlet Witch Wanda watched him like an evil queen. Yes, Yi dreamed about it, admitted it readily, and said sincerely, "Sorry, I didn't mean to marry you. Ahem, I didn't want to be like that at the time, and I don't know why I became such a sweetheart in this small town, Vision." Scarlet Witch Wanda looked at him without saying a word. 10 seconds later, just when Yi Mengdu wanted to abandon White Vision's body and use artificial intelligence to escape along the signal. The Scarlet Witch turned her back to him, and calmly said, "You go." "Okay." Bai Yan Yimeng did not hesitate, fearing that Miss Witch would regret it. She took off at full speed and broke the sound barrier, flying towards the outside of Zijing town. Until he disappeared into the night sky. The Scarlet Witch Wanda turned around slowly, her fists clenched at some point, and she looked towards the direction of the night sky where Bai Vision Yimeng left. "If you are not that person, no matter which world you are in, I will go and kill you," she whispered, as if speaking a fact, a spell. Agatha, lying on the ground, gave a wry smile, raised her head and asked, "Are you going to kill me?" "No, don't you like acting very much, then live here as an ordinary resident for the rest of your life." The Scarlet Witch Wanda waved her hand, and scarlet rose like a tide, covering Asaga and everything in the town. Crash! Agatha only felt her eyes go dark, and when she opened her eyes again, she found herself sitting at the door of the house where she acted as a town resident. She looked up and saw that the town had been restored to its modern appearance in the 21st century from the 1950s. More than 3,000 residents of the small town also returned to their normal minds, and many relatives hugged each other and wept bitterly. Agatha lowered her head and stared at her hands in a daze. She was no different from ordinary residents with no abilities. In our world, there is actually a real Scarlet Witch. Agatha smiled bitterly, feeling that she was not wronged. The Scarlet Witch is an existence capable of eroding and controlling the multiverse. Agatha shook her head, and suddenly remembered the previous white vision, and the fragment of the mind gem that appeared on the other's brow. Agatha was taken aback for a moment, but later she showed a more horrified expression, thinking of a possibility. Maybe it's really a vision, a real vision. When he gets the complete mind stone. Call out. A white figure streaked across the night sky like a shooting star, constantly moving away from Zijing town, which had just been released from the control of magic. Soon, they came hundreds of kilometers away. So close. White Vision Yimeng was flying at high altitudes at several times the speed of sound, secretly lucky that the witch hadn't completely blackened yet. Miss Scarlet Witch, it still makes sense. Certainly, if Yimeng knew about Wanda's determination to chase and kill him, she might not think so. In any case, this unexpected encounter in the dreamland of the Marvel Universe is finally over. Yimeng started to replay while flying. Even though marrying Miss Wanda was too risky, it was a windfall. Yimeng lowered her head and glanced at the present, the tall white mechanical body that she manipulated like a steel battle suit with an arc of an assembly line. White Vision has most of the characteristics and abilities of Vision, a member of the Avengers who died in the final battle. For example, vibranium defense, super strength, levitation flight, energy absorption, laser attack, virtual projection, and virtual shuttle, etc. In addition, Yimeng raised the two fingers of her right hand and lightly touched the artificial chip built between the brows of Bai Wanshi's body. A little yellow broken light loomed. A shard of the Mind Stone owned by Wanda the Scarlet Witch. Even if it's just fragments, it can make Yimeng feel the peace and tranquility of her heart, not afraid of any other artificial intelligence's invasion, and even resist the will corruption of the previous Black Witch. Yimeng really needs this type of thing, no matter the dream universe or the real world. Just this few mind gem fragments can reach this level. What if it was the complete Mind Stone? According to the previous, the enhancement of the dream avatar can also bring certain characteristic feedback to reality. If you get the power of the full Mind Stone in Marvel Dreamland, can he, together with the will of Doomsday in reality, be able to assist and control it? The electronic eyes of White Phantom Yimeng shone with red-silver light. This is the biggest harvest he has encountered in Westview Town this time. As the Black Hand behind the scenes, control the strategic changes of the global network. You must first find a way to restore and obtain the complete Soul Gem. White Vision Yimeng made up his mind. In the dreamland of the Marvel Universe, the priority of obtaining the Soul Gem is temporarily higher than everything else. But at this moment, Yimeng, who was flying extremely fast in the night sky, was taken aback for a moment, and suddenly found that the stars in the night sky were stagnant, and the body of the White Phantom manipulator was also stopped at high altitude. No, it's the entire Marvel Universe that has stopped. Time to stop. It's broken. This feeling is that I am going to wake up from the dream and return to the real world. Yimeng realized it consciously. If it was before, it would be fine, but now he really doesn't want to wake up, before he controls the power of Doomsday. But falling into a dream and waking up from a dream are not up to him. The space scene in the Marvel Universe keeps blurring until it breaks. Yaimeng's consciousness completely withdraws from the Marvel Universe and returns to herself in the real world. And just before he was about to wake up, another pulling force came suddenly, pulling him to the dream world again. Drop, drop, drop. Yimeng suddenly opened her eyes, absolutely sane, and became irritable, seeing the blood red of the sunset and the waves crashing on the beach where she was. On the ground of the island, there was also a trident weapon that seemed to be made of pure gold. Hoo-hoo. Yimeng's breath turned into 2 fiery breaths of destructive energy, and she looked down at the palms of her raised hands, and saw a pair of gray-white broad, bony palms. The strong and burly 3-meter monster's body was hideous with bony spurs. Ancient Doomsday. Yimeng came to his senses, and as the incarnation of the ancient Doomsday, he returned to the last DC Universe dream. This is the first time he has not woken up and experienced 2 different dream universes in a row. It seems that in reality, I have been invaded too much by the day of destruction of Dreamland. Only the power to control the day of destruction of Dreamland can fully wake up. Ruin Ri Yimeng maintained a weak sense of reason and kept thinking. Fortunately, in reality, he is also in the semi-destroyed state. At least he will not starve to death because he has been dreaming for too long. At this time, on the deserted island, the former queen of Atlantis, Atlanta, was shivering while holding the sleeping Kryptonian baby beside the beach. Atlanta didn't dare to take a breath, and looked at the coast not far ahead in fear. The bone spur monster bathed in the setting sun of the sea, and the Poseidon trident at his feet. God, what kind of supreme existence is this? Even the legendary sea god king, Poseidon, the old god who ruled the sea, was defeated at the home court of the sea, and his artifact was taken away as a spoil of war. Atlanta fully believes that this existence can destroy the current submarine empire, and even everything on DC Earth. Just standing there motionless, the body of Bone Spurs still lingers with substantial destructive energy, imitating human breathing. The breath is hotter than lava flames. At this time, the Bone Spur standing facing the setting sun suddenly looked sideways, looking at Atlanta and the baby in her arms with eyes surging with destructive red flames. Atlanta took a step back subconsciously, almost slumped on the ground with the mentality of a queen. No, no, don't eat me. I gave birth to a baby not long ago, and the fishy smell really doesn't taste good. Atlanta pleaded desperately, her plump and soft body trembling constantly. Ruining Ri Yimeng was speechless for a moment. He didn't need to eat. However, because of Atlanta's words, Yimeng also completely recalled it. The current DC Universe dream also follows the time when he left the dream last time, that is, he just defeated Poseidon, the god of the sea. Next, what to do is the avatar of Doomsday. Correct. Sun, the sun is going down soon. Ruining Day Yimeng glanced at the setting sun, ignored Queen Atlanta's begging for mercy, and stretched a big gray hand towards her plump and moist body like lightning. Don't want. Under Atlanta's weak and desperate eyes, the big hand grabbed her and the Kryptonian baby's body together, and the other hand grabbed the small Kryptonian spaceship and the Trident artifact. Boom! The island where it was located trembled violently, and the ground sank in place. The Bone Spur monster took the queen, the baby, the Kryptonian spaceship, and the Trident artifact, and jumped towards the vast sea in the direction of the setting sun. The clouds ahead were broken again, and above the sparkling sea, the setting sun was infinitely beautiful, but it was a terrifying atmosphere. Atlanta couldn't open her eyes under the strong wind. Although she could bear it, she was worried about the baby in her arms, so she gritted her teeth and stretched out her hand to the end of the trident. The Trident artifact slightly glowed with circles of golden energy ripples, spreading like water waves, resisting the powerful sprinting pressure and fierce wind around it. Atlanta sneaked a glance at the bone spur that grabbed her, and found that the other party didn't care about it, as if she wasn't worried about her taking away the Poseidon Trident artifact. 2. Even the sea god was defeated. Even if she had the Trident artifact, it was still far from enough. Fortunately, the other party didn't seem to want to eat or hurt himself. It's just, where is the other party going to take herself and the baby? Atlanta reluctantly lowered her head, looking at the sea area below, which was constantly crossing under the powerful hurricane that broke out following the amazing jump. The fireball-like sun dipped into the horizon and went out. DC Universe Earth, southern Italy, Mediterranean center. Boom. As if a meteorite fell obliquely from the night sky, the sea suddenly exploded, and the water splashed tens of meters high under the moonlight and night. This time, it no longer jumped to take off, but kept falling towards the bottom of the sea. Atlanta, who was wrapped in a large gray and white bone palm, tightly hugged the sleeping baby, and was led to fall rapidly into the deep sea. The two destructive red flames became more and more violent, and the Poseidon trident artifact that entered the sea pushed the sea water out by itself, open. Gurgling. Soon, the bone spur monster took them down into the 10,000-meter deep sea, which was still bottomless. As I remember, there is no submarine civilization in the deep sea area here. As the Queen of Atlantis, the Undersea Kingdom, Atlanta was lucky enough to be able to see farsighted in the deep sea. Suddenly her pupils shrank, but she saw thousands of strange and hideous black shadows swarming towards them. That ferocious black shadow looks like a human but not a human, a fish but not a fish, gray and ugly, full of fish scales and spikes. Like a human-shaped sea monster, especially in an astonishing number, densely packed in the sea, it makes one's scalp tingle. Atlanta was terrified. It's the trench race. By the way, this is the deep sea area where the Undersea Kingdom sacrifices to the trench race. The trench race, after the split of the Atlantis Empire, was one of the 6 undersea kingdoms, and later transformed into an unintelligent man-eating sea monster. These primitive and ferocious trench monsters can destroy a small underwater kingdom in the sea. Atlanta trembled all over, until she felt the grip of the 5 fingers of the hard gray bone palm, and suddenly she was not afraid anymore. Really. In the next moment, 2 thick beams of crimson-hot rays of destructive energy sliced through the deep sea water. With the existence of bony spurs, they turned their heads and glanced. A large amount of seawater boiled and evaporated, and countless trench monsters were split in 2 by the crimson-hot rays extending 10,000 meters. The dazzling red light pierced through the 10,000-meter deep sea here, and the seawater boiled, forming a vortex torrent, and the wreckage of countless trench monsters scattered. Wow! All the surviving trench monsters swam out in a panic. Atlanta sighed secretly, closed her eyes and couldn't bear to look any more. When it comes to monsters, I'm afraid there is no monster in this world that can compare to this existence. The bone spurs did not pursue the surviving trench tribe, and continued to bring Atlanta and others down to the bottom of the sea until they reached a seabed where a large natural vortex was formed. This natural underwater vortex makes a thunderous roar, as if leading to the other end of the world. Before Atlanta could react, the bone spurs brought them into it. All the sea water broke open and rushed into the vortex. Immediately, he rushed out from a sea surface, and his eyes suddenly opened up. Here is. Atlanta opened her eyes wide in surprise, looking at the center of the earth that reached from the vortex of the 10,000-meter seabed, and saw floating mountains suspended in the air, and the domes of the earth's center above her head were pieces of colorful crystals, heading towards the center of the earth. Down below cast bunches of bright sunlight. A huge, pristine island sits in the ocean ahead. In the meantime, there are long-extinct pterosaurs soaring in the air, and they fly away in fear when they sense the terrifying aura of the bone spurs. The sea is hidden in the center of the earth. Atlanta opened her mouth in shock, unexpectedly arriving at the legendary mythical place where the trident artifact is stored. Tread. Destroyer Day Yaimeng leapt high from the sea, landed on the primitive island, let go of the things in his hands, and looked at the large group of crystals on the dome at the center of the earth. That's right, this is the Tibetan Sea in the center of the earth where the trident artifact was stored before. Ruin Ri Yaimeng remembers that in the movie Sea King, there is a never-ending light here. Arriving here now, bathed in the light of the hidden sea in the center of the earth, the red flames of destruction in Yaimeng's eyes were extinguished a little. Sure enough, as he expected, the geocentric dome crystal in the geocentric Tibetan Sea is transformed by the Earth's absorption of the sun's radiation for billions of years, so it can emit as bright light as the sun. In other words, the crystal light of the Tibetan Sea in the center of the Earth is the same as the sunlight, and it has the radiation effect of the yellow sun on the Kryptonian family. This is very suitable for him now. Before the power of Doomsday is completely controlled, this place can be used as a stronghold for the incarnation of Doomsday in ancient times. Correct. There is one more thing that needs to be taken from the outside world. Destroyer Day Yaimeng jumped up suddenly, and under Atlanta's astonished gaze, jumped onto the wall of the dome in the center of the earth, reached out and broke off a sun crystal. Bang! The bone spur monster held a 7-colored sun crystal in one hand, fell into the surface of the hidden sea that was broken just now, and returned the same way. Staying behind, on the large island hidden in the sea in the center of the earth, Atlana was sitting on the beach holding the Krypton baby in a daze. The outside world, Antarctica. A patch of sunshine suddenly lit up here. Stationed at the local scientific research institute, a scientist looked at the night sky and seriously doubted his eyes. Now, Antarctica is obviously in the eternal night period of the whole day and night, and the result. Under his gaze, a small sun glowing with dazzling daylight fell towards a large iceberg in the depths of Antarctica. Tread. On the top of the iceberg, an avalanche rolled, and a 3-meter-tall bony spur fell here holding a piece of sun crystal. Fortunately it works. A ray of sanity flashed through the red eyes of the ancient Doomsday, and he looked down at the colorful crystal he was holding. This crystal has the same effect as the sun, and the energy continuously emits yellow solar radiation energy, which slightly weakens the desire to destroy in his heart. Yes, only slightly weakened. It is something else that makes Ruin Riemang maintain her rationality and humanity until now. At this time, between the eyebrows where the bone spurs existed, a shattered yellow warm light bloomed loomingly, resisting the will to destroy. Useful, really useful. Doomsday Dream is very excited. The soul gem fragments obtained in the dream of the Marvel Universe, the power really passes through reality, directly affecting the ancient incarnation of Doomsday in the current dream. Although, it is still impossible to completely suppress the endless desire for destruction, but it can also extend the sanity of Ruin Riemang to half an hour. Time is limited. Destroy the dream of Japan and Iraq as soon as possible, and take advantage of the remaining sanity to obtain the item in the dream of the DC Universe. Ruining Riemang glanced at the surrounding icebergs, seeing everything in Antarctica could not be hidden from him. Found it. Soon, Ruin Riemang's red eyes fell on a nearby iceberg, and the next moment, his eyes turned into a scorching energy ray, which melted the top of the iceberg from the outer wall to the inside, and forcibly carved out the iceberg. A large passage. Ruining Riemang held the colorful sun crystal and jumped towards the entrance of the iceberg. Follow the mouth of the melting channel to the inside of the iceberg. All I saw was a black alien spaceship stuck in the ice. Ruin Riemang's quietly surging red flames. This is a Kryptonian ship. More precisely, it is the large probe spacecraft of Krypton. It is the father of the son of Krypton born by natural childbirth, Joel. In order to find a suitable planet for Kryptonians to live, he sent an unmanned intelligent detection spacecraft in the early years. The Kryptonian exploration spacecraft finally arrived on Earth, which made Jor-El decide to send the son of Krypton here. All of these, of course, were learned by Riemang through the movie memories of her previous life. This Kryptonian spacecraft was supposed to remain frozen for more than 10 years, and then be reactivated by the adult Kryptonian son Superman. Now, it was dug out by him ahead of time. Destroyer Day Riemang put down the sun crystal, and let out a soft breath. The scorching air wave suddenly surged, melting the frozen ice on the spaceship wall, exposing the tightly closed cabin entrance of the spaceship. In the movie, this Kryptonian spaceship cannot be opened from the outside unless it is forcibly destroyed, or passes Kryptonian genetic verification. Destroyer Day Riemang stepped forward and arrived in front of the cabin entrance. With the beeping sound of the spaceship, the cabin door opened automatically. Confirm the Kryptonian gene. Welcome, son of Kryptonian. A pleasant and intelligent discourse came to my ears. Riemang was very satisfied. As the ancient Doomsday, he did not have Kryptonian genes, so he unceremoniously stepped into the cabin of the Kryptonian spacecraft. The spacious passageway of the spaceship is still a bit crowded for the 3-meter bone spur body. With the entry of Ruinian Dream, Kryptonian bodysuits of different colors and styles popped up automatically in the wardrobes along the corridor of the spaceship, with the S family emblem symbolizing hope on the chest. Ruin Riemang originally wanted to try on one, but after thinking about it, he went deep into the cockpit of the Kryptonian spacecraft. The next moment he stepped into the cockpit. A voice suddenly sounded in the cabin. "My son, Kal-El. I knew that you would definitely come here." Accompanied by the man's words, a stereoscopic projection of a mature middle-aged man appeared in the dim cabin. Joel smiled and said, "As a momentary virtual intelligence, I've been waiting for this moment." Now, get ready to know everything about your hometown of Krypton, and the will to inherit the hope of the family." His words stopped abruptly, and the virtual three-dimensional figure looked up, and saw a bone spur monster with red flames in its eyes. The cockpit of the Kryptonian spacecraft fell into a dead silence again. Chapter 71. The momentary virtual intelligence on the Kryptonian exploration spacecraft, Jor-El, is programmed and transformed by Jor-El himself according to his own thinking, and will be activated after someone reactivates and enters the Kryptonian spacecraft for the first time. This is one of the backhands left by Jor-El himself. According to the original plan process, as long as Jor-El himself sends his son Kal-El to the Earth here before the Kryptonian civilization is destroyed, then only Kal-El, who is the only Kryptonian on Earth as an adult, will be able to reunite in the future. Activate this Kryptonian ship. So, the moment the Kryptonian spacecraft was reactivated, the virtual intelligence Jor-El was also activated in the cockpit database for a moment. Even if he himself as the main body may have been buried along with the Kryptonian civilization, but as a momentary intelligence, he can at least see his son again, the son after he has grown up. The grown-up son should be as tall as him, and strong enough. For a moment, the virtual intelligence Joel suppressed his excitement, and as the sound of footsteps came from the corridor of the spaceship, he slowly turned around the virtual three-dimensional projection body while speaking warm and uplifting words in a deep voice. "Ready to accept the will of our family representative Hope." However, in the next instant, Jor-El stopped all movements and words. The smile on the face of the middle-aged man, who was a virtual stereoscopic projection, was stagnant and stiff. He was in disbelief at first, and then he was extremely astonished. He looked at the 3-meter bone spur that walked into the cockpit from the lighted corridor. Where is his son Carl? Why is this extreme Krypton product that represents the end of destruction appearing? And many more. Why is Doomsday here? Is it the one that has been imprisoned in their hometown of Krypton for thousands of years? Ancient Doomsday. At this moment, even as a ray of thought programming, the momentarily virtual intelligent Jor-El still shuts down for a while, and there is a fear that is enough to make the program go haywire. It was originally thought that this ancient Doomsday, where nightmares and demons exist for Krypton, would be lost in the universe along with the destruction of Kryptonian civilization. As a result, the ancient Doomsday appeared on the Earth here. Then there is still hope for the Hammer Soul on the Earth. Jor-El, who regards hope as the will of the family, lost hope in an instant. No matter how confident he was in his son Carl, who grew up under the radiation of the yellow sun, he was not confident enough to compete with this ancient existence of Krypton. Because, as one of the top scientists and fighters on Krypton, Jor-El is very aware of some hidden characteristics of this ancient doom. This ancient existence has a terrifying ability characteristic that makes people desperate, and it is precisely because of that ability characteristic that Krypton has only been able to imprison him for thousands of years. Once he breaks free from the shackles of the Kryptonian civilization's hard work and technology from generation to generation. The virtual intelligence Joel thought of this for a moment, and made a decisive decision. Absolutely must not let this ancient ruined day exist in the Earth civilization that stays here, otherwise the Earth, which is the hotbed of his son's growth, will also have the same ending as Krypton. Fortunately, the ancient Doomsday has always been irrational, and it has not yet destroyed the Kryptonian exploration spacecraft. I must restart this Kryptonian spaceship, let the spaceship fly out as soon as possible, away from the Earth, and fly into the black hole with this ancient existence. For a moment, the virtual intelligence Jor-El's thoughts changed sharply, and he quietly connected to the intelligence of the Kryptonian spaceship system. This ancient existence that lost its wisdom and destroyed its incarnation should not have existed in this world. It should disappear in the universe together with Krypton's death. Carl, this is the last thing I will do for you, Father. For a moment, virtual intelligence Jor-El's eyes glistened with tears. Just as he was about to activate the engine of the spaceship and fly away from the current Earth with a space leap, he saw the ancient Doomsday walking into the cockpit suddenly moving forward. The shape of a 3-meter-tall bony spur monster existed, with burning red flames dancing in its eyes. It walked up to the driver's seat of the control cabin, and put its big gray bone hand on the platform. What does he want to do? Could it be that he wants to destroy this Kryptonian spacecraft? It didn't take a moment for the virtual intelligence Joel to react. In the next moment, he lost contact with the spacecraft control system, and the spacecraft engine that was about to be ignited and started fell silent again. For a moment, the virtual intelligence Joe Wire was stunned, obviously unable to understand the current changes. He completely lost control of the spaceship system, and was blocked and deleted as a virus. ZZ. Jor-El, who appeared as a virtual stereoscopic projection, was distorted and fuzzy, and it was difficult to maintain a complete figure. He finally looked at the bony spur with an incredible expression, and his thinking process was completely disordered. This is an absolutely impossible thing to happen. The virtual stereoscopic projection disappeared, and the cockpit became dark and quiet again, leaving only the control platform lit. Now, this Kryptonian spacecraft is mine. The pale face of the ancient Doomsday exuded a humanized expression, and a wisp of red-gold virtual static electricity flowed back from the spaceship control platform into the thinking consciousness between the eyebrows. The power of the extradited mind gem fragments not only helps to suppress the will to destroy the desire, but also brings some artificial intelligence characteristics, which are stronger than the artificial intelligence characteristics held in reality. Although it is only partial and far from the level of real artificial intelligence, with the blessing of the fragments of the Mind Stone, it is still possible to process a non-artificial intelligence Krypton applet code. Destroyer Day Yimeng took control of the Kryptonian spacecraft, and then directly exited the unmanned cockpit. Passing the corridor of the spaceship, Yimeng of Destroyer's eyes fell on one of the Kryptonian Superman bodysuits floating out of the closet, and paused. 10 seconds later, the engine of the Kryptonian exploration spacecraft ignited and exploded. The alien spacecraft that had been frozen for several years was restarted. It went straight up and forcibly broke through the dome inside the iceberg, and took off towards the Antarctic night sky outside. Rumble. This iceberg has completely collapsed. The sea is hidden in the center of the Earth. Atlanta, holding the Kryptonian baby, sat blankly on the beach of the island, and the Trident artifact was stranded with the small spaceship casually. Atlanta didn't understand the existence of bone spurs. Why did they bring them here, imprison them, or eat them after fattening them up? At this time, with a roar, the surface of the Tibetan Sea leading to the vortex of the seabed opened in front of it, and a huge black alien spaceship rushed into the current Tibetan Sea in the center of the Earth, with a magnificent momentum. Someone came to rescue us. Surprised and delighted, Atlanta hurriedly stood up with the Kryptonian baby in her arms, but saw the alien spaceship flying directly over and landed on the coast of the island on the spot. Call. Dust billowed. After the black alien spacecraft came to a complete stop, the engine brake stopped, the cabin of the spacecraft opened, and a tall figure came out. Atlanta's eyes widened incredulously. I saw, isn't that the existence of the bone spur monster that defeated Poseidon earlier? It's just that the raw bone spurs that were originally naked existed, but now I put on a tight-fitting black battle suit, which looks like a forged metal with amazing muscle curves. There is an S-shaped hope emblem on the chest of the battle suit. The hideous bone spurs on the back were covered by the black cloak that fell over the shoulders. Only, the gray head and face are still indifferent and terrifying, and the red flame of destruction that shocks everything in the eyes is not extinguished. Less out of control, more sacred. Atlanta opened her mouth wide, realizing suddenly that the bony spur monster might have been wise all along. Wisdom and no wisdom are obviously two concepts. The existence of intelligent life that is strong enough to defeat the old god means that the opponent has the possibility of becoming the highest in the world. Looking at the 3-meter bone spur in the black battle suit, Atlanta was surprised and delighted. Surprisingly, a powerful existence with wisdom means that it is almost impossible for him to escape the opponent's control. The good news is that the other party may be able to communicate. Hello, Mr. Bone Spur, my lord, my name is Atlanta, and I am a person from the sea. Atlanta took a deep breath, her body was still trembling involuntarily, and she said to the bone spur, "Excuse me, what's your name?" The bone spurs didn't pay attention to her, and suddenly there was a violent roar, and the red flames of destruction in his eyes shot forward, piercing the Tibetan Sea in the center of the earth from the beach. ZZ. A large amount of seawater evaporated in an instant, a destructive red light flashed, and the sea area ahead was divided into two halves. Feeling the oncoming heat wave, Atlanta turned pale with fright, and fell back on the ground again, tightly hugging the sleeping baby in her arms. Boom! The bone spur took a step forward, and a deep pit was sunken inward from the beach. He leapt violently to the far end, smashing a suspended mountain in the sea hidden in the center of the earth. The storm blew, and the mountains fell and the ground cracked. The beautiful Sea of Tibet in the center of the earth instantly turned into a terrifying purgatory. The gray and white bony spurs in the black battle clothes went away like this. Only the other end of the Tibetan Sea in the center of the earth, there were continuous shock waves, which made the Tibetan Sea continue to set off big waves one after another. Atlanta was still in shock, looked around and hesitated, and finally held the baby and entered the alien spaceship that hadn't closed the portal before. The other end of the hidden sea in the center of the earth. Tread. Ruining Riemang violently jumped onto a floating mountain, looking up at the sun crystal on the wall of the earth's core thousands of meters above the ground. The red glow in his eyes was like a burning flame. On his forehead, a shattered inner ray of warm yellow light grew dimmed, suppressed by desire. The power of the Mind Stone fragments is not enough to control the desire to destroy. Even with the human anchor of yellow solar radiation and the sun of Krypton, it still only kept the Doomsday avatar sane for half an hour. Right now, the will to destroy is about to suppress reason again. It really doesn't work. I can only vent to Poseidon. I hope he won't just die like this. Ruining Riemang struggled for a while, as if thinking of something, looked towards the island hidden in the sea in the center of the earth, passed through the Kryptonian spaceship with her perspective eyes, and arrived at the baby in the woman's arms. Is the remaining half of the Kryptonian code valid? Doomsday Yaimeng thought hard, and finally shook his head. The more he was infected by the power of Doomsday, the more he understood. Doomsday does not have a congenital genetic defect, but because the evolution is too fast and extreme, it leads to the instinct to destroy everything around, so as to vent endless physical strength and energy. The Codex of Krypton, rather than assisting his evolution, slowed down the extreme evolution a little. The main effect is to use the Son of Krypton as an anchor point of his humanity, so that the two have a sense of blood connection that is better than that of Kryptonian relatives. Whether it's the Kryptonian code, or the radiant energy of the yellow sun, or venting the desire for destruction on the old gods, all of them are ways to treat the symptoms but not the root cause. Doomsday Yaimeng clenched his fists tightly. He would lose control in the real world and DC Dreamland. The fundamental reason is that his self-will is far below the standard to control the power of Doomsday. The complete mind gem. This thought quickly flashed through Yaimeng's mind, and the fragments of the mind gem had been personally tested to be effective. If he obtains the complete mind gem in Marvel Dreamland, his own consciousness will undoubtedly be greatly enhanced, and he may be able to start controlling the power of Doomsday. The perfect application of the different characteristic powers of the two dreams. Maybe this is the right way to become the Doomsday Superman. Well, now comes the problem. How to switch from the current DC Universe dream to the Marvel Universe dream. Ruining Riemang maintained his will that was on the verge of losing control, and at the same time forced himself to sit on the floating mountain in the hidden sea in the center of the earth. Even if he was sitting, he still released waves of destruction lightning. He was able to seamlessly jump from the dream of the Marvel Universe to the dream of the DC Universe before, which means that different dreams must be able to switch between each other. It's just that, in the dreamland of the DC Universe, the incarnation of Doomsday is too powerful, so the traction to enter the dreamland is extremely strong. By the way, I remember that several times before, I almost dreamed of the dream of the DC Universe, but finally arrived at the dream of the Marvel Universe. Ruin Riemang gritted his teeth and kept thinking. He remembered that he faintly heard Morgan Stark's calling. A flash of light suddenly flashed in Yimeng's mind. Could it be? In the dream universe, can the dream characters who are closely related to me be the anchor point of that dream? Morgan, can you hear me? I am Teacher Yiba. Ruining Riemang shouted hoarsely, but let out a low growl that didn't resemble a human being, causing the surrounding pterosaurs to flee in terror. How could it be possible to hear this through a world of dreams? I still have to find Poseidon, the god of the sea. Ruining Riemang struggled to get up, and at the last moment when his mind was overwhelmed by the desire to destroy, his self-awareness was in a trance, and he vaguely heard a female call from the distant sky. Xiaoming, you forgot about me. The woman's intimate and sad call quickly turned into a cold sentence. No matter which world you are in, I will go there and kill you. In this instant, Yaimeng felt that everything around the incarnation of the ancient Doomsday, the pterosaurs and the crystal brilliance, and everything in the dream of the current DC universe stagnated. Time and space stopped. Consciousness withdraws from the DC Universe dream, just like waking up from a dream. But soon, Yi Meng's consciousness was drawn to another dream again. Drop, drop, drop. Reach the goal. Yi Meng suddenly opened her eyes, and what caught her eyes was the night sky filled with stars, and the artificial intelligence itself, which had no real shape, was driving a tall white mechanical body to fly at high speed at high altitude. Beneath him, the urban area lit up with the flames of civilization kept retreating. Here it is, Marvel Universe Dreamland. The desire for destruction that was on the verge of getting out of control was once again extinguished by absolute reason. Bai Weian Yimeng was stunned for a moment. The artificial intelligence's super thinking flowed rapidly, and she said to herself in surprise, "It's really switched. From the DC dream world, switch back to the Marvel dream world." It's just that when I switched to the dream world, I vaguely heard the woman's words. Sure enough, Miss Witch, right. Yi Meng, the white vision who had just left Westview Town, was clearly a robot but felt shuddering. Now, White Vision, he is no match for Scarlet Witch. However, this feeling is really amazing. For the first time, I successfully switched from other Dreamland dungeons to the Dreamland I wanted to explore. Yi Meng suddenly realized that not only could she obtain different characteristic powers in different dreams, but she might also be able to get stuck in a bug. In the DC Dreamland, when the incarnation of Doomsday is about to lose control, he jumps his self-awareness to the Marvel Universe and turns it into artificial intelligence. Then, when self-awareness recovers, you can switch from the Marvel Dreamland again. Constantly switching between DC and Marvel dreams, as long as you don't wake up and return to the real world, can't you indirectly solve the out-of-control method? Yi Meng felt that this plan was feasible. No matter what, I have to find a way first, trying to restore the Soul Gem. Continuing to return to the current dreamland of the Marvel Universe, Bai Wanshi Yimeng touched the built-in chip in the metal brow with his hand, and there was a shattered yellow light there. Restoring the Mind Gem has great benefits for the current two dream incarnations and the self in the real world. Dreamland, Marvel Universe, Earth. It was night, and a white streamer crossed the New Jersey border at high speed. White Vision Yimeng broke through the sound barrier, not flying aimlessly, but heading towards New York on Marvel Earth. Yimeng remembered that inside Stark Industries, there was a universal manufacturing platform that claimed to be able to create all technological creations. Of course, Yi Meng, who was born as Stark's artificial intelligence, is very clear. It is not capable of creating all technological creations, but it is just an ultra-advanced producer machine that gathers almost all the technological technologies held by Stark Industries. With Stark Industries' cross-age technological background, it can naturally do many things that technology can achieve. Remember, on Tony Stark's Avengers spaceship, there was such a maker machine, which was later borrowed by Happy Hogan to other places. Yimeng wants to use that ultra-advanced maker machine, combined with her own artificial intelligence supercomputing, to see if she can deduce the possibility of repairing the Mind Stone. Cross the New Jersey border into bustling New York State. Under the watchful eye of the White Phantom Yimeng's electronic eyes, one can see all kinds of long or short signal waves and lines. With a thought in Yi Meng's mind, a large amount of local network information was immediately flooded into the brain of the artificial intelligence, and it was quickly analyzed and processed with the super brain terminal equipped with White Vision itself. For the past 2 days, he has been in Zijing Town, which is under the control of Miss Witch, and has been cut off from the outside world for a while. As an artificial intelligence, it is the greatest advantage to grasp the first-hand intelligence information in the world at any time, and it cannot be outdated. About 10 seconds. What happened in New York State in the past 2 days? As long as the internet and new media existed, Yi Meng knew about it. Among them, more than a dozen intelligence messages that have been widely circulated in the news media have attracted his attention. E.g., the day before yesterday, Quentin Baker, also known as Mysterio, died. He left video evidence at the last moment of his life, claiming that he was killed by the Avengers member Spider-Man and Stark Industries defected artificial intelligence Saturday. Mystery Quentin Baker also announced Spider-Man's hidden identity, that is, a high school student who lives and studies in Queens, New York, named Peter Parker. I teamed up with Spider-Man. White Vision Yi Meng laughed. This mysterious guest thinks too much of himself, and before he dies, he can only use these acting methods to expose himself with the idea of losing both sides with Spider-Man. This has no effect on him. However, Spider-Man, whose true identity has been revealed now, should be quite a headache. It was also revealed on the internet that Spider-Man and his girlfriend MJ tried to apply for admission to MIT, but the application was rejected because of Spider-Man identity. He didn't care about these Yi-Mangs. In this dream world, he didn't care about Spider-Man at all. The rest of the intelligence information is the focus. Yesterday and today, large and small chaotic crimes occurred in many places in New York. In the morning, Spider-Man and a middle-aged man with 4 octopus mechanical claws fought fiercely on the viaduct. More than a dozen vehicles were severely damaged and several people were injured. Some witnesses saw a mysterious man who turned into lightning flying through the air on the outskirts of New York. In addition, in other parts of the city, a man in green riding a strange flying skateboard and a large lizard monster that got into the underground waterway of the pedestrian street appeared, causing economic losses and casualties to New York City to varying degrees. A lot of news information and network intelligence are also accompanied by live pictures and videos. There was a gleam in the eyes of Yi-Mang, the White Phantom. He recognized it at a glance. These villains who suddenly appeared in New York City were not Dr. Octopus, Electric Man, Green Goblin, and Lizard Man. But the problem is, these super villains should all come from the movie world of other Spider-Man series. Villains from other universes, the multiverse. Yi-Mang quickly thought of something. Although I haven't seen other follow-up movies in the post-Avengers era. But he still knew in his previous life that after the sacrifice of Iron Man, the Marvel Universe will enter the realm of the multiverse. Now, the chaos happening in this world is not the beginning trend of the Marvel Multiverse. The arrival of super-villains from other universes. This beginning is a bit like my real world. Yi-Mang's thoughts flowed. If you think in this way, then the real world entered the multi-dimensional field as early as 200 years ago. Moreover, it is a more complex, terrifying, and vast multiverse than the Marvel Multiverse. Whatever super villain he is, just don't mess with me. Yi-Mang's electronic eyes flashed red, and a large modern city with bright lights appeared at the end of his field of vision. New York, almost here. At this time, New York. Queens, a modern residential building with 30 floors. Ding dong. The elevator opens. Peter Parker, who was still wearing a nanometal spider suit, walked out of it first. His immature face looked haggard, and he turned to the elevator behind him and said, "Come out, it's almost there." Following his words, the 4 walked out of it. They were a white man wearing an ordinary t-shirt and jeans with a cold face, a man in a windbreaker with sunglasses and 4 mechanical octopus tentacles wrapped around his body, a black man with a charging round slot on his chest, and a black man with the same skin. A burly man with sandy hair. "Peter, what's the use of bringing us to the apartment? We are very dangerous," the leading white man said weakly with a concerned and worried expression. "It's okay, you are just sick and flawed. Here is a machine that can heal you, trust me." Spider-Man Peter Parker said with a smile, and continued to walk towards the door of the modern apartment where Aunt May and Happy began to live together. Behind him, 4 people from other universes looked at each other, each with their own ghosts. Led by Spider-Man Peter Parker, the 4 followed to the door of the apartment on the 16th floor. "Aunt May." Spider-Man knocked on the door and called. After a while, there was the sound of footsteps in the house, and the door opened immediately. "Peter, you are back. You must never guess who is visiting our house." May, who was dressed at home, said happily while opening the door. When she saw 4 men standing behind Peter, she couldn't help but said in a daze, "It turns out that you also brought people to visit." "Aunt May, I'm sorry. The situation is complicated and they need help." Spider-Man Peter Parker was suddenly a little annoyed that he didn't have time to understand the situation at home, but there was nothing he could do if the situation was urgent. In order to help heal these alien visitors, he had a falling out with Doctor Strange just now, and locked Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension. "May, is it convenient for them to go in? They really need help, otherwise they will die when they return to their own world." Peter Parker lowered his voice, stood at the door, and sincerely said to Aunt May. Aunt May wanted to agree, but she had some concerns. She looked back at the apartment and said, "But, Peter, there is a special little guest at home." "Little guest?" Spider-Man Peter Parker was surprised when he saw a small figure stepping out of a room. It was a blonde little loli about 6 years old, wearing a white brand name children's clothing, with a small face like a doll, and she looked as petite and cute as an angel. I thought it was Mr. Hogan who came back, but it was Mr. Parker. Good evening. Little Lolita walked out of the living room with a noble aura of family heritage, greeted Spider-Man at the door very politely, and then looked curiously at the 4 mysterious people with different shapes outside the door. Morgan. Spider-Man Peter Parker was taken aback, and couldn't help asking May, why is she here? Happy brought her here to play, and she also used that maker machine to create a toy. May smiled and lowered her voice. Don't look at him who is only 6 years old, and he has already entered MIT. If you go in too, then she is your senior sister. Where's Happy? Spider-Man's youthful face suddenly became serious. May saw something unusual, and couldn't help but reply, I went to buy Morgan the cake she likes, and I should be back soon. Spider-Man Peter Parker looked at Morgan, and his heart stopped suddenly. No matter how demented he was, he knew the importance of Morgan. It is absolutely impossible to put her in any danger. Otherwise, what face do I have to face the portrait of Mr. Stark? Although the situation is still under his control, seeing Morgan still has a strong sense of uneasiness. And May, please take Morgan out of here now and go somewhere else. Peter Parker immediately decided to let May take Morgan away first, and handle the rest by himself. Okay. May glanced at the 4 people who had been standing outside the door, guessed something, turned her head and said softly to little Lolita, Morgan, let me take you to New York Park to play, and then let Uncle Happy take you home. No problem. The little Lolita nodded obediently, with a mature appearance of a little adult, and then trotted into the room, I'm going to get my toys. May also began to change into her outdoor shoes. Peter Parker secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but heard a faint voice behind him, Peter, I think you value that girl very much. Peter Parker's heart tightened, and he said calmly, she is the child of a relative of mine. Oh, is that so? Outside the door, Norman the Green Goblin, whose face was weak and pale, was thoughtful. My daughter used to be quite like her. The Sandman rarely showed a smile. I seem to have seen her somewhere. The Electric Man frowned slightly, with blue electric light flowing in his eyes. Dr. Octopus was silent. After half a minute, Morgan walked out again, but behind him was a white and fat humanoid doll that walked on its own, with a height of 2 meters. Outside, everyone on the field was stunned. Morgan, is this the toy you made? Even Aunt May was shocked, never expecting that Morgan designed and manufactured such a big toy within half an hour. Spider-Man's eyes widened in shock. It was a large white inflatable robot with rounded lines and a simple expression. It looked like a simple Michelin man in an oversized cotton candy. It looked very healing and cute. Yes, I call it Big White. The little loli showed an innocent and cute smile. This is one of the novel creations that teacher Yiba mentioned in her previous lectures. Now she just uses the maker machine to restore it in reality. However, this device did not match the advanced artificial intelligence of Stark Industries, and only acted and reacted according to the fixed system program that had already been input. If one day, Yiba comes back and manipulates it. Morgan thought to himself. His eyes were like stars, and his small white hands gently held Debai's big inflatable hands. Awesome, Spider-Man admired. He knew that even if he had a maker machine, he had to provide analysis, design, and manufacturing ideas by himself. Without an engineer with mature knowledge and advanced concepts, it is absolutely impossible to manufacture advanced machines from scratch. Most of the 4 villains outside the door are doctors of science from other worlds, and it is difficult to understand this scene. This girl is a super genius, Dr. Octopus commented, and everyone else nodded. The electro-optic man looked towards the room inside the house, and sensed that there was an advanced manufacturing machine that he had dreamed of. Okay, Morgan, let's go. May took Morgan's little hand. Under the gaze of Spider-Man Peter Parker, the 4 villains with different expressions stepped aside outside the door. And just when May walked out the door with Morgan, green light suddenly appeared in the big white eyes following behind, and they glanced at the 4 villains outside the door. Split personality. The body is deserted. Intelligent chaos. Electrification of the body. The diagnosis is successful, and it needs further treatment with Stark Industries' advanced technology and equipment. Dubai mechanically stopped speaking, and continued to walk out. This is actually a medical robot, so advanced that it makes people obsessed. Dr. Octopus said suddenly. By the way, I recognized her. I saw her in a magazine before. The electro-optic man withdrew his gaze from the room in the house, and looked at the back of the little lolly in the corridor. Morgan Stark is the only heir to the world's #1 industry, worth hundreds of billions of units. Really? When the Sandman heard this, his eyes burst into fanaticism. Once he had money, his daughter would be saved, and getting that medical robot might also save her daughter. At this moment, the four villains all looked straight at Morgan. Seeing this, Spider-Man Peter Parker suddenly had an ominous premonition, a strong sense that the situation was getting out of control. Peter Parker quickly rushed out of the door, blocked the middle of the corridor, and shouted loudly, "Everyone, please come in and let me treat you. Then, you can return to your world normally." However, the four people who had been cooperating with him before did not respond to this. Spider-Man's heart sank suddenly, his face turned pale, and he felt that the situation was completely out of his control. "Peter, you are so naive." The Green Goblin Norman, who had been weak and gentle before, suddenly smiled evilly. "I think I am fighting for a sacred moral mission. Unfortunately, we don't need your rescue or treatment." Norman the Green Goblin looked around at the other villains. "Our abilities are not curses or flaws, but miracles bestowed by God. We can get everything we want in this world, and then go back or stay. We don't need your mercy." As soon as the Green Goblin Norman finished speaking, he rushed towards Spider-Man ferociously and quickly, pinning him down in the corridor. The other three villains looked at each other, and Electron suddenly rushed into the apartment room, heading towards the advanced maker machine. The Sandman hesitated for a moment, but turned into sand and rushed towards May and Morgan. "Peter Parker, you're so unreliable." Dr. Octopus gritted his teeth, not knowing which side to stand on, and wrestled with the AI-controlled octopus mechanical claws on the spot. "The apartment is downstairs." Pooh. A large truck was parked in front of the door, and the closed iron door of the carriage suddenly cracked open, and a green lizard monster jumped out of it, and quickly climbed up the outer wall of the building. Misfortune happened. 5 supervillains, 4 betrayed at the same time, plunged this building into chaos and crisis. Corridor on the 16th floor. When May heard the chaotic eruption behind her, she hurriedly picked up Morgan and rushed towards the elevator. After rushing into the elevator, she kept pressing the door hard to close it. Before the burly man caught up, the elevator door was closed. "It's okay, Morgan, I will take you out of here safely." May hugged little Lori tightly and comforted her. Morgan didn't look scared, but looked at Dubai next to him. Dubai also followed into the elevator in time, but just stood blankly on the elevator next to him, and hadn't had time to program the program code to protect the owner. The elevator kept going down. Mei Jung breathed a sigh of relief, but at this moment, the elevator trembled violently and stopped abruptly. Kaka. The originally closed elevator door was opened little by little, and a ball of sand formed hands against the elevator door. "Give her to me." The sand also formed a strong man's face, poked into the elevator, opened his mouth and said, "Don't think about it." May put Morgan behind her, punched the strong man's face with a punch, and the whole face burst into sand. But, the sand pouring into the elevator continued to condense, turning into a hand, bypassing May, and reaching for the little lolly behind her. May hurriedly slapped Shaw's arm off, but she still couldn't stop Shaw's hand. Morgan leaned his back against the elevator wall, looked at the sandy hand who was getting closer, and subconsciously closed his eyes and shouted, "One." The next moment, a white shadow flashed past. Both May and Shaw were stunned. However, the large inflatable body suddenly hugged Lolly tightly, barely blocking the sandy hands from the extremely elastic inflatable surface. Bah! Morgan opened his eyes, feeling the embrace and protection of Dubai's inflatable body, and finished speaking what he didn't have time to finish before. His eyes were covered with water vapor. Mei Chong heaved a sigh of relief, secretly lucky that Dubai survived. But how did she know that this semi-finished Dubai medical robot has no emergency protection program, so it should not move? "It's him, back," little Lolita Morgan whispered inexplicably, rubbing the soft inflatable watch with her immature face like a doll. May was puzzled, but the Sandman was shaken all over, feeling a chill down his back, and immediately turned into sand and exited the elevator, causing the elevator door to close again. In the dark and silent elevator tunnel, the Sandman condensed into a half-human shape and suspended in the air. He looked at the other sand outside in astonishment, which had already condensed into puddles of glass. Sandman looked up and saw a tall white figure blurring through the outer wall of the building, looking down at him. Its electronic eyes showed an indifferent red light, and the chip between its brows flickered with broken yellow light. It looked down without any emotion, like a god in the mechanical field. In the dark elevator tunnel, the half-body of a strong man made of sand is suspended in the air, looking at the white mechanical existence that blurs through the outer wall of the building and enters the tunnel above. The tall white mechanical body is made of some kind of metal material. It is smooth and translucent, showing the arc of a perfect human body and muscle curvature. A ray of warm broken yellow light emerged from the half-transparent built-in chip between the brows, in stark contrast to a pair of cold electronic red lights, directly suspended in the sky without an engine or flame brake. Advanced robots in this world. Sandman Flint Marco was inexplicably settled. In his cognition, the robot's AI was limited, and no matter how powerful it was, it still had to follow a fixed program. After all, a robot is just a robot, and the control and dominance are in the hands of others. Thinking of this, the Sandman immediately raised his sandy hands and signaled to the elevator stuck in the middle of the floor, "Let me go, I won't attack again. Know that the other party has the means and ability to deal with their own desertification." The Sandman simply raised his hands and surrendered in order to protect himself, and said that he would not hurt the two Morgans in the elevator again. Just, in the face of Sandman's actions and words, the white mechanical existence suspected of being an advanced robot in this world did not respond and still looked down at him. The Sandman's face became serious. He thought for a while, and said sincerely in a different tone, "Just now, I was only doing that because of my daughter's necessity. Let me go and don't show any intention of attacking, otherwise I don't guarantee that the tunnels and elevators here will cause damage. What consequences?" Saying that, the Sandman's eyes became sharper, and the sand turned into palms was also spinning and flowing slightly, as if it would turn into a sandstorm in the tunnel at any moment. Above the tunnel, the existence of the white machine remains in the air, like a god. It's just that when he heard his words this time, there was a trace of humanized banter in the red eyes of the electron, and he looked at him like a piece of garbage that was about to be cleaned up. The Sandman was shocked, and for a moment he almost suspected that he was wrong, and an extremely ominous premonition came to his heart again. But at this moment, boom, stuck under the elevator car at the height of the 10th floor of the elevator tunnel, on the 7th floor, a large lizard suddenly broke through the door of the elevator. "We will go directly to where the elevator car is." Chance. The Sandman was overjoyed. He didn't hesitate at this moment, turned into a small sandstorm, and burrowed towards the gap in the tunnel. He didn't even think about joining forces with the supervillain Lizardman, but followed his ominous premonition and chose to flee the scene. It has to be said that after the arrival of the White Phantom Yaimong, the Sandman's cautious and self-protective choices were all correct. The only pity is that he met Yi Meng. In this world, he is also in the ranks of supervillains, replacing Yaimong, who controls artificial intelligence, with human thinking. With the whistling sound, just before the dust storm formed by the Sandman is about to leave through the gap in the tunnel, a group of strong flames suddenly gushed from above, and the crimson flames immediately covered the sand under the wind. The high temperature made the sand that the Sandman turned into directly melt into translucent glass water. Yes, sand can also melt, and its melting point is around 1600 degrees Celsius. The deserted body of the Sandman continued to melt under the high temperature of the flames, making a male scream. He raised his head in disbelief and looked up at the white mechanical existence that sprayed down high-temperature flames with his mechanical left hand. The Sandman never expected that this high-level robot would attack him immediately in the face of the current situation. Isn't such a high-temperature flame endangering the two people in the elevator car of the tunnel? In addition, the lizard man below is also crawling towards the elevator car, which is enough to endanger the lives of the two people in the elevator. Could it be that he had guessed wrong from the very beginning? This advanced robot was not here to protect Morgan Stark. The Sandman could no longer think. his body turned into glass water under the high temperature and flames, and the last thought in his mind was regret for coming to this world, and his daughter's voice and appearance. Laugh. Bai Yan Yimeng stopped the flame jet from his left palm, then raised his white mechanical right hand, and a stream of extremely cooling ice mist seamlessly connected, condensing the glass water into a real glass body. At the same time, the elevator car that had been stuck at the bottom of the tunnel had already accelerated its descent. While getting away from the high-temperature flames above, the bottom of the elevator slammed into the lizard man crawling along the inner wall of the tunnel. Boom! The glass body made of the Sandman's body broke in the tunnel, and the lizard man was also knocked down by the elevator that suddenly descended. At this time, inside the elevator car, the medical robot's fat, round and simple inflatable body held Morgan tightly in its arms, like a white sphere violently bumped by the elevator, leaving her almost unscathed. May also hugged Debai's arm tightly, relying on the inflatable elastic, only suffered a little injury. Morgan. May was terrified and wanted to comfort Morgan. Unexpectedly, the little Lolita Morgan did not show a scared expression the whole time. She was very calm in Debai's arms, and even comforted her with childish words. "The teacher is here, we will be fine." Teacher? What teacher? May became more and more confused. But as if verifying Morgan's words, the elevator, which was descending extremely fast, suddenly slowed down, stopped very quickly and smoothly, and resumed normal opening of the elevator door. Outside the elevator portal is the second floor of the building. Debai hugged Morgan and rolled out of the elevator, and May also walked out in a daze. The moment the two left the elevator car, the bottom of the elevator car was suddenly torn open by a sharp green claw, and a 2-meter-high green lizard jumped into the elevator, full of wild and violent aura. It's a pity that it only appeared for less than a second, and it was too late to reveal the ferocious hunting form with teeth and claws. A tall white figure blurred and passed through the top of the elevator car, and the Zhenjin fist was solidified and swung down quickly. The pressure of the fist made the strong wind blow away, knocking down the green lizard monster to the bottom of the elevator tunnel. Hold head high. The lizard man trapped in the floor at the bottom of the tunnel roared. The wounded and bloody green skin on his body was rapidly healing itself, struggling violently and wanting to get up and fight again. Result: the moment the lizard monster opened its mouth and roared, a hot white laser beam plunged into the mouth from top to bottom, completely piercing the lizard man's jaw and body. Hold head high. The roar of the lizard monster came to an abrupt end, and even it couldn't ignore the fatal wound, so it fell straight back, losing all vitality at once. Sandman, Lizardman, two supervillains from other Spider-Man multiverses die. And it didn't take more than a minute from the arrival of White Vision Yimeng to the end of the battle. May was in the corridor on the second floor, transfixed. Ahead, in the completely scrapped elevator car at the bottom of the elevator, a tall white mechanical figure was suspended in it, with a silver white cloak fluttering gently behind its shoulders, and the forehead chip stopped the release of the laser beam. At the bottom of the tunnel below, the berserk roar of the lizard monster also stopped, and there was silence inside and outside the elevator. The white mechanical being turned his head, and the electronic eyes flashed red, looking at the little loli in Debai's arms outside the elevator car. I won't let you hurt her. May was terrified. Even though she knew the opponent was extremely powerful, she still forcibly stood up from the ground and stood in front of Morgan. Morgan also seemed to be afraid, struggling constantly, trying to break free from Debai's arms. But the medical inflatable robot Debai seemed to be broken, maintaining a hugging posture, and tightly stuck Morgan in the soft embrace. The white mechanical existence just stared at Lori like this. A trace of human emotion seemed to flash through the cold and ruthless electronic eyes, and then looked up in the direction of the 16th floor. Its body changed from reality to emptiness little by little, like a virtual creation that does not exist in the world, accelerated through the top of the elevator car, and quickly disappeared from the sight of May and Morgan. Not long after it left, Debai's inflated hands also loosened, losing his intelligent control. Do not. Morgan rushed towards the elevator and was soon stopped by May. Morgan, it's dangerous, May said anxiously, hugging little Lolita. Morgan, who has always been well-behaved and sensible, kept struggling with his petite body. His big eyes glowed with crystal luster, and he whimpered loudly, "What do you know? How could he hurt me? He is mine." By changing the atomic density of White Vision's vibranium body, Yimeng blurred through the wall and kept rushing towards the location of the advanced maker machine. Real-time video came from the camera on the second floor, and the familiar picture of the little loli appeared in his mind, and the corners of Bai Weian Yimeng's mouth quietly raised. Morgan, you've grown up after just a few days. Not only went to MIT to study, but also made Dubai, a medical robot that he mentioned casually before. In this way, even if I am alone, I will be able to grow to the height of a superhero sooner or later. Yimeng thought to herself. Morgan, we'll see each other sometime, but not now. The eyes of Yimeng, the white phantom, flickered with red light, and the speed was extremely fast, and the blurred body flew to the 16th floor. Just came to the 16th floor. White Vision Yimeng saw that Spider-Man was wrestling fiercely with Green Goblin Norman, while Dr. Octopus was wrestling with his 4 mechanical claws. What kind of extraordinary battle is this? In order to avoid these villains from other worlds, heard Morgan downstairs, who is the anchor of Marvel's dream. White Vision Yimeng did not intervene in the battle, but with a thought, a wisp of red virtual static electricity immediately entered the control center chip worn by Dr. Octopus on the back of his neck. The next moment, of the 4 out-of-control mechanical claws that were fighting with Dr. Octopus, one of the mechanical claws suddenly deviated from the attack direction without any warning, and slammed into the back of the middle-aged gentleman wrestling with Spider-Man. Norman the Green Goblin was obviously unprepared for this. He only heard a splash, and blood splashed directly on Spider-Man's face. The 3 people in the battle were stunned at the same time, stopping all movements. Visible. At this time, Spider-Man Peter Parker was lying on the corridor floor. Green Goblin Norman rode on Spider-Man, strangled his neck tightly, and a mechanical claw was inserted from the Green Goblin's back, and pierced out from the Green Goblin's chest. Dr. Octopus is still tangled with 3 other out-of-control mechanical claws. Tick. The blood-stained Spider-Man, Green Goblin Norman, and Dr. Octopus at the same time. Otto, you. Green Goblin Norman lowered his head, glanced at the mechanical claws protruding from his chest, and looked at Dr. Octopus behind him with an expression of disbelief. Norman, it's not me, it's really not me. Dr. Octopus was also dumbfounded, his eyes under the sunglasses were dull. Spider-Man was even more numb, lying dazed and absent-minded in the corridor, his vision stained with blood, and the stench of the air made him feel suffocated for a while. White Vision Yimeng, who had done all this, didn't feel anything about it, and directly blurred and rushed into the apartment room. Not to mention that this world is just a dream of his. Even if it is the real world, he doesn't mind sending these villains to see God. After all, God might be able to forgive them. Call out. White Vision Yimeng rushed into the apartment where Happy and May lived together, and saw a production station with its own virtual screen in the process of starting up. The large-scale production table is marked with the Stark Industries logo, powered by the new element energy circular tank of the steel suit. It is obviously the Stark Maker machine, through which Morgan can create the medical robot Dubai. In front of the advanced production stage, there was already a black man wearing a charging technology armor. It doesn't matter who you are. In short, you are one step late. Aware of the intrusion of White Vision Yimeng. This is mine. A ray of sharp blue lightning flashed in the eyes of the electro-optical man, and he quickly reached out to snatch the new elemental energy round slot of the production table, and installed it on the charging technology armor on his body. When the new elemental energy round slot of the steel suit merged with Electroman's body, an astonishing energy breath suddenly emerged. Seeing this scene, Bai Weian Yimeng couldn't help but stop at the door of the room. Ha 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 ha, what an abundance of energy. The electro-optical man was so excited that he kept absorbing the energy from the new elemental energy circular tank, so that his eyes and body surface were constantly overflowing with abundant and powerful burning white electric light. Take you as an experiment, die for me. The electro-optical man suddenly raised his hands, and pressed them down towards the door of the room. Immediately, thick white lightning burst out, and the white mechanical existence was directly submerged and blasted away. ZZ. The intertwined, criss-crossing, white lightning flooded everything like a huge wave, destroying all the walls and furniture outside the door, until the night view of the city at the other end of the apartment building could be seen. Fantastic, this is too powerful. The electro-optical man was dumbfounded and became more and more excited. In this way, wouldn't he be invincible? No matter this world, or the original world. But at this moment, a cold mechanical voice came to my ears from behind. That's it. The Electric Man's dark face froze, and he looked back subconsciously, but a white mechanical hand passed through the body and armor in a blur, and removed the new elemental energy circular slot embedded in the charging armor on his chest. No, give it back to me. The Electric Man felt that the supply of the huge energy source was interrupted, and he couldn't help tearing his eyes. He wanted to activate the electric light, but he saw the burning white electric light gushing out from the body of Yi Meng, the White Phantom. Back to you. With the ability of the Soul Gem Fragment, Bai Weian Yimeng tapped lightly on the back of Electroman's head with 2 fingers, and the energy absorbed and accumulated by the vibrating gold body was released. Pooh! The powerful scorching white lightning that was almost exactly the same as before, surged from the white mechanical fingertips into the brain of the Lightning Man. The Electro-Optic Man's body paused for a moment, and then his head exploded from the inside out, turning into a blue electro-optical virtual brain, which was then gently split open by the yellow broken light. The scorching white lightning continued to travel down the body, splitting the electrified body of the lightning. Zizi! The raging white lightning burst out, annihilated the entire body of the Electric Man, and continued to sweep the entire room outward. The piercing white light made the central city of New York as bright as day in an instant. Bai Weian Yimeng made a timely move to save the Maker machine, so as not to be affected and destroyed by himself in the end. After winning the victory, Yi Meng didn't stop there, and turned the Maker's closed box into a big metal box. He took the Maker box and the new element energy round slot, and the silver-white cloak was hunting, and flew directly towards the vast night sky of the city outside at an accelerated speed. Deng Mei walked out of the main entrance on the first floor of the apartment building together with Morgan, who had tears on her face. At this time, the entire building that had fallen into extraordinary chaos had returned to calm, and police cars with sirens and flashes drove up on the New York highway in the night outside, and surrounded all the doorways of the apartment building. Among them, a black vehicle of a low-end luxury brand was parked directly next to the police car, and a middle-aged fat man in a suit and leather shoes ran down sweating profusely. Morgan. Happy's face was full of self-blame, and he asked worriedly, I was in the next street, and I rushed back when I heard the noise. Are you all right? It's okay, it's just that she might be freaking out. May shook her head, and looked down at Morgan, who was being held in her arms. Little Lolita was a little dazed, looking up at the night sky in a daze. What happened here? Happy asked solemnly. May opened her mouth, not knowing how to describe it for a while. She could only cast her shocked eyes on the 16th floor of the apartment building. Apartment building, 16th floor. Whoosh. Accompanied by 2 slight sounds of footsteps, graceful figures wearing different styles of spider-tight suits fell into here from a high altitude outside. My God, we seem to be a step late. Well, the extraordinary battle here seems to be over. The 2 Spider-Men, who were slightly different in height and size, looked around quickly and saw a dilapidated mess. The apartment houses and corridors on the 16th floor were in ruins, and the air was filled with burnt smoke and dust waves. One of the taller Spider-Men pulled off his hood, revealing a handsome face with distinct features, but it looked a bit gloomy due to the dark circles around his eyes. Let's find the native Spider-Man of this world again, he may help us return to the original world. The other Spider-Man nodded, took off his hood, and let out a long breath, showing a middle-aged face of a certain age, but the toughness of youth can still be seen from the outline. If Yimeng was still present, he would definitely recognize it. Isn't this the Spider-Man from other movie worlds? The Amazing Spider-Man, and the old original Spider-Man. Here, the Amazing Spider-Man suddenly waved his hand, jumped into the corner of a ruin on the 16th floor, and lifted a sloping wall with his bare hands. Oh my God! The original Spider-Man looked over there, his pupils shrank suddenly. I saw that after the Amazing Spider-Man lifted a collapsed wall, what greeted his eyes was an extremely tragic situation. A Caucasian teenager wearing a metallic spider suit was lying on the ground, pressing a gentleman man who had lost all signs of life. The man's chest was bloody and had a fatal penetrating wound. And the man in sunglasses with 4 octopus mechanical claws struggled to support the 2, and with his unstrengthened flesh body, he blocked a wall that had completely collapsed before. After the Amazing Spider-Man lifted the wall, the man in the sunglasses grinned, and fell down with blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. It's Norman the Green Goblin from my world, and Dr. Octopus. The first generation of Spider-Man said, and stepped forward to support Dr. Octopus's severely injured ordinary body. He's already dead. The Amazing Spider-Man checks on Norman the Green Goblin and finds that he died a few minutes ago. Are you the Spider-Man Peter Parker of this local world? The Amazing Spider-Man looked at the young Spider-Man lying on the ground with dazed eyes and a face stained with blood. I did something wrong and screwed up everything. The young Spider-Man muttered to himself, looking at the dead Green Goblin Norman, not knowing whether it was resentment, anger, or other emotions. Doctor, Doctor. At this time, the hurried shouting words of the original Spider-Man came from the side. He's dying too. The Amazing Spider-Man raised his head, glanced at Dr. Octopus in the arms of the original Spider-Man, shook his head and sighed. No. Doctor. The juvenile Spider-Man suddenly regained consciousness, reached out to wipe off the blood on his face, and quickly got up and approached Dr. Octopus. After confirming that Dr. Octopus with damaged viscera is indeed hopeless, the medical scanning system equipped with the nano-metal spider suit is confirmed. The juvenile Spider-Man completely froze his face, trembling all over his body, looking at the dying Dr. Octopus. Doctor, you don't have to save me, I won't be crushed to death at that level. Who saved you? Dr. Octopus leaned against the body of the original Spider-Man, his sunglasses were crooked, revealing a pair of wise and clear eyes. I just save myself. As soon as the words were finished, Dr. Octopus closed his eyes tiredly, and lost his voice and movement with a relieved expression. The young Spider-Man suddenly lost his strength and slumped on the ground. Rest in peace, Doctor. The original Spider-Man sighed, and stretched out his hand to put the sunglasses back on for Dr. Octopus. We all have to get used to the parting of life and death. The Amazing Spider-Man had a calm face, like someone who has been watching all this. Seeing the scorched black electrical chip wreckage in the house next to him, he suddenly said with a change of expression. It seems that the 3 villains from our world all died here. Norman the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Electro. More than. Another voice suddenly sounded out of nowhere on the 16th floor. The 3 Spider-Men looked sideways at the same time, and it could be seen that Mars was spinning in the air to form a circular portal, and a gentleman man with a court magic cloak and white temples came out. Ah, there are magicians in this world. The Amazing Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man were both stunned, saying in unison. Mr. Strange, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, I messed up everything. The young Spider-Man slumped on the ground, not daring to face the gentleman man directly. I should have heard from you earlier and sent them all back to their original place, to the world. Indeed so. Dr. Strange shrugged, and he raised his hand towards the portal behind him. A lizard monster corpse and several glass crystals flew out, and fell into the ruins of the 16th floor here. Dr. Lizard. The Amazing Spider-Man stared blankly at the corpse of the lizard monster. Is it Sandman Flint Malco? The original Spider-Man looked at several glass crystals for a while before recognizing them in astonishment. This is not your supervillain identification and acceptance conference. Dr. Strange complained, but still said solemnly, it's just less than 5 minutes, here are supervillains from other worlds, all 5 of them died, basically they were killed by the same existence. As soon as these words came out, not only the local young Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe, but also the Amazing Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man were all shocked. These supervillains come from their world, and they naturally know each other's strength, especially Sandman, Electron, and Green Goblin, who are so difficult that they can at least make a documentary film. And these supervillains were killed by the same existence in a short period of time. This world is scary enough. The Amazing Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man glanced at each other, unable to hide their horror. Mr. Strange, do you know who killed them? The young Spider-Man also asked in shock. When I was trapped in the mirror space, I gained some insight. You should also recognize that existence. Dr. Strange nodded, looking at the young Spider-Man playfully and weirdly. I know it too. Marvel's native Spider-Man Peter Parker was stunned. Dr. Strange was about to respond, but as if he sensed something, he looked outside at the city under the night. Call out. As a tail flame lit up over the city not far away, a strong black man wearing a conspicuous camouflage blue armor and carrying a pentagram round shield arrived here. The 2nd generation Captain America, former Falcon, Sam Wilson. Let me answer that question. The 2nd generation US team Sam said directly and calmly. After all, Bucky, Dr. Banner and I have been in the country of Wakanda recently to track down its whereabouts. Tonight is destined to be an unusual night. 2 Spider-Men from other worlds, Doctor Strange, and the Avengers gather. Saturday. The super artificial intelligence that Stark Industries defected some time ago. Above the ruins of the apartment on the 16th floor, 3 Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and the second-generation Captain America representing the old Avengers gathered here. After listening to the description of the second-generation American team, Marvel's native young Spider-Man couldn't help but widen his eyes. Artificial Intelligence Saturday, he naturally recognized the name. Saturday not only defrauded himself of Stark Industries' rights and artificial intelligence. In the end, because of this, he was framed by the mysterious guest as himself collaborating with Saturday to cause death. If it wasn't for that reason, young Spider-Man wouldn't go to Doctor Strange, and let him use the forgetting spell to cause chaos in the current universe, and pull people related to Spider-Man from other universes into this universe. It won't be like this anymore. There is no doubt that that is the source of everything. Sam of the second-generation US team said in a deep voice. It killed Iron Man's second-generation artificial intelligence Friday, and other Stark artificial intelligences on the night it defected to Stark Industries. The danger factor is no less than the original one. Ultron. I went to the country of Wakanda with Bucky and Dr. Banner. With the help of the local Princess Shuri, I thought I could lock its IP address soon. I thought, that's why you failed. Doctor Strange tried his best to pout his mouth and said beforehand. Yes. Sam of the US team of the second team glanced at him, and said solemnly, after Ultron took control of Stark Industries, it actually directly returned the authority of Stark Industries to the Stark family. All of its own data program codes have been transferred to other places, and the country of Wakanda has not been able to find traces of its walking. You mean, it's smarter than the previous super-villain Ultron? Doctor Strange frowned. Although he was still a doctor at the time and hadn't experienced the Ultron incident, everyone on Marvel Earth had obviously heard of Thorvia incident. No, it's not so much smart, it's more like a smart body than Ultron, a special smart body transformed from artificial intelligence. The second-generation US team scanned the crowd and continued. After all, even if it is the artificial intelligence Ultron 10 years ago also acted in betrayal according to the underlying logic of Tony Stark's original, for world peace. As for Saturday, the ultimate artificial intelligence, there is no underlying logic to follow in its behavior, and it is more like a human being with a self-concept. Since the steel battle suit, it has obtained the White Phantom remodeled and manufactured by the Tianjian Bureau according to the Ultron template, and has become even stronger. Now, it has obtained Stark Industries' maker machine and new elemental energy. God knows what it wants to create. Every word of the second-generation American team gradually let everyone on the field understand the strength and horror of Saturday. Can't we continue to let it go? Doctor Strange pondered for a moment, his eyes flickering. He understood that the special existence of the other party was already able to pose a huge threat to the current Earth. Even, the potential danger factor to the Marvel world far exceeds the supervillain invasion now associated with Spider-Man. Must regain control as soon as possible, at least make this special intelligent existence controllable. Doctor Strange thought for a while, and looked at the messy apartment room. We're all one step late. Now, can you still lock it? It didn't work before, but now it has the mechanical body of White Vision, and it also took away the maker machine and the energy of the new element. The eyes of the second-generation American team were sharp, and the corners of their mouths were raised. I have already contacted Bucky and Dr. Banner who are still in Wakanda. I believe they will be able to lock each other's position soon. Let me help too, Marvel's young Spider-Man suddenly said, attracting the attention of Doctor Strange and Captain America. He gritted his teeth and continued, I messed up a lot of things tonight, at least let me help out. Do your best. Doctor Strange clicked his tongue, and said casually, you can go if you want. After Saturday's matter is settled, I will deal with the mess caused by the Oblivion Curse with you. Okay, the young Spider-Man hurriedly responded, for fear that he would go back on his word. The other two on the field, the Amazing Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man looked at each other. The Amazing Spider-Man spread his hands and offered to propose, before we return to our own world, please come and help us. The original Spider-Man nodded. Anyway, the supervillains in our world are gone, only the number one villain in your world remains. Wait, you are three brothers. Sam, the second-generation American team, was bewildered and looked at the extraordinary, the first generation, and the three Spider-Man of Marvel. At this time, there is a deserted suburb in New York, by a lake. A piece of grass was slightly lowered, and the white mechanical existence was carrying a large metal black box in its left hand, and a new element energy circular tank with a triangular logo in its right hand, which fell from the sky and landed here. Bai and Yimeng directly put down the black box, restarted it, turned it into a production table, and restored the new element energy circle. With the power supply of new elemental energy, the production table suddenly shimmered, and a three-dimensional virtual screen popped up, displaying various technological functions. Bai Wanshi Yimeng directly put the left hand of the machine on the production table, the red virtual static electricity connected the network system together, and stretched out the two fingers of the machine with his right hand to touch the chip between the eyebrows. A shattered yellow light loomed from it. At this moment, the lakeside in summer is quiet, only the natural sounds of frogs and insects. The artificial intelligence Yimeng connected the white phantom terminal and the maker machine into one, and analyzed and interpreted the fragments of the soul gem remaining in its own artificial intelligence consciousness. In an uninhabited corner of the Earth, one of the most difficult high-end operations in the Marvel Universe is being carried out. Yimeng even borrowed supercomputers from SHIELD and Tianjin Bureau branches to increase the calculation speed, but she stood completely still in front of the production stage for 10 minutes. This is the most difficult and strenuous calculation analysis Yimeng has ever encountered as an artificial intelligence incarnation. 10 minutes later, the luster of the energy circle of the new element was more than half dim, and Bai Wanshi Yimeng finally stopped the calculation and analysis. I see. White Vision Yimeng muttered to herself, and sighed humanly. He gets it. 5 years ago, after Thanos snapped his second finger, the 6 infinite gems in this universe did not disappear, but were destroyed into atomic states and scattered throughout the Marvel Universe. And now in Yimeng's artificial intelligence consciousness, the fragment of the soul gem left behind is just the largest fragment of the soul gem that was left behind when the Scarlet Witch Wanda tried to destroy the soul gem before Thanos arrived 5 years ago. In other words, the 6 infinity gems in this universe have never disappeared, but have been destroyed into atomic states, flooding every place in the world. If you want to restore the gems, you must be able to control the entire Marvel Universe. It is impossible to restore the soul gem. Yimeng clearly recognized this, and finally understood why the Avengers did not try to restore the 6 Infinity Stones 5 years ago. It's not that I didn't try, but that I couldn't do it at all. Even today, 5 years later, Marvel technology still can't reach that height, and the road to repair is simply not feasible. White Vision Yimeng sighed softly, but was not dejected by it. His red glowing electronic eyes landed on the maker's machine. If you want to get the complete mind gem, there is another method, the only feasible method, and this method is in this Stark Industries maker machine. Yimeng has always known this. However, he had certain concerns, so he never thought about that method. And now, it is clear that there is no way out, the moment when the biggest choice in the current Marvel dream has to be made. The only way left is to get the complete mind gem, and that's the only way to do it. Bai and Yimeng made a decisive decision and put the vibration gold manipulator on the Stark Industries manufacturer's machine again. This time, bet on everything in the current Marvel dream, and pursue the possibility of becoming Superman on Doomsday. 10 minutes later, White Vision Emin was still standing in front of the Stark Maker machine, and at this moment the light of the new elemental energy tank was about to go out, almost exhausting the energy enough to keep the steel suit fighting for several days. But at this moment, Mars rotated on the grass not far behind to form a round hole portal, and 3 graceful figures with similar styles of spider tights jumped out of it first, guarding in a triangular formation to surround White Vision Yimeng and the production table. Immediately afterwards, the second-generation Captain America, who was holding a pentagram metal buckler, and Doctor Strange, who was wearing an ancient nobleman's cloak, also walked out of the Mars portal. The former raised the laser weapon equipped in his hand, while the latter faced forward with the golden light seal on both hands, staring at the white illusion ahead, blocking all the way by the lake. At the same time, there were obvious waves on the surface of the lake, and a stealth fighter plane from the country of Wakanda emerged from the night sky and stopped 10 meters above the lake. The rear cabin of the fighter plane opened, and a 2-meter-tall man with thick green skin and black-rimmed glasses stood on the deck with a tough man with silver and black metal hair and his entire left arm, facing the night wind. "It's really lively tonight," Dr. Banner, who had merged with the Hulk, grinned. Bucky the Winter Soldier on the deck did not speak, his eyes were fixed on White Vision Iman in front of the production stage. Not to mention the exaggerated and extraordinary battle victories before, his fighting instinct told him that the opponent was extremely dangerous. "Artificial intelligence, Saturday, you are surrounded, please stay away from the Maker machine." Sam, the second-generation US team, said in a deep voice. The laser weapon in his hand was always aimed at the body of the white mechanical existence. "You guys are here." Bai Weian Yimeng turned around. Red light appeared in the electronic eyes, and he calmly glanced at the superheroes surrounding him. "Tonight is indeed quite lively. Doctor Strange, the Hulk, the Winter Soldier, Spider-Man, the second-generation Captain America, the superfighter of the Wakanda forces, and 2 other Spider-Man protagonists from the other 2 Spider-Man worlds. This is already the post-reunion era, and most of the Earth's local combat power is now." "What do you mean?" The second-generation US team Sam's face was solemn, and it sounded like the other party was deliberately waiting for their arrival. But he didn't panic because of this. After all, the superheroes present are enough to deal with the cosmic crisis. "This may be the last moment of my existence in this cosmic dream, and I still need someone to be a witness, and you are just right," White Vision Yimeng said softly, and at the same time, the grass below him suddenly shone brighter than daylight, showing the circular outline of a mechanical platform. The Maker machine next to it was connected to the mechanical platform hidden under the grass, exhausted the last sliver of energy in the energy tank of the new element, and hit a beam of shimmering light on the body of White Vision Yimeng. "Wait, that's..." The unscrupulous Hulk Dr. Banner on the fighter plane suddenly changed his face, and jumped off the 10-meter-high Wakanda fighter deck in spite of everything. "Stop it," Dr. Banner shouted. He had naturally seen a similar mechanical platform hidden on the grass. He had not only seen it but also used it. It was also the ultimate scientific and technological achievement he had personally participated in designing and creating. It's just that what he used to use was a super-large multi-person shared platform, but the other party created a small single-person platform. Not good. Seeing this, the 3 Spider-Men immediately rushed forward. And the second-generation American team and Doctor Strange even released energy lasers and spell glares respectively. One was like a beam of piercing white light, and the other was like lightning piercing the air. Maker machine. They also knew that the existence of white vision that directly attacked Zhenjin's body was meaningless, so they shifted their target to the mechanical platform. Too late. Bai Weian Yimeng ignored them in the attack. With a thought, the special belt device on his body was activated, and the particles in the half-tube were quickly digested. In the next moment, the body of the white vibrating gold suddenly became infinitely smaller until it disappeared. It looked as if the world had evaporated. The mechanical platform and the manufacturer were destroyed at the same time, but the 3 Spider-Men also escaped. Under the night, at the lakeside, there was only a low voice echoing softly. "Goodbye, Morgan. ... Where are people?" The 3 huddled Spider-Man looked at each other. Dr. Hulk Banner stepped on the grass. His green complexion looked extremely complicated, looking at the destroyed mechanical platforms and machines. "It worked," Dr. Hulk Banner said to himself. "I just don't know where and when it will go." Doctor Strange and the second-generation US team glanced at each other, and they also realized what was going on, and it was difficult to maintain their composure. Everything is silent. It is a foregone conclusion. A certain future and past will change at this moment. Shrinking all the time, after shrinking to a certain extent smaller than an atom. Bai Weian Yimeng suddenly fell into a strange and mysterious place, where there seems to be no concept of space and time. All afterimages of light and shadow are retreating towards the end behind him, and he is also constantly shuttled towards the end of the unknown location. This is the quantum realm. White Vision Yimeng calmly observes the blurred light and shadows passing by through the electronic eyes. That's right. This is the only way left to get the complete Mind Stone, and it was the method the Avengers used to reverse the Blink event before. That is to use Ant-Man's PIM particle technology to shrink into the quantum realm and travel to the time and space of the Marvel Universe in the past. Of course, Yimeng was very clear. The past time and space, returned in the setting of the Marvel Universe, does not actually go back to the past, but arrives at another parallel universe in the past. This is also the worry that Yimeng has always had. He is like being bound to the Marvel dream that gave birth to the incarnation of artificial intelligence Saturday. Morgan Stark has also become the anchor point of his Marvel dream universe. Under such circumstances, can he really reach another unrelated Marvel parallel universe in his dream? Once he fails, will he be lost in the Marvel dream forever, or will he be disconnected from the Marvel dream forever? This is the concern that Yimeng has always had. In addition, shrunk down to a smaller size than an atom, Yimeng looked down at the space-time shuttle belt made by PIM technology, where a glass tube filled with half-tube particles was installed. Every time you travel through time and space in and out of the quantum realm, you need to consume a lot of PIM particles. PIM particles come from the technological creation of a generation of Ant-Man, and they are also a cutting-edge and rare resource, and they are not infinitely produced. Half a year ago, more than a dozen members of the Avengers traveled back and forth to parallel time and space in the past to collect 6 Infinity Gems, and almost exhausted the resource stock of PIM particles. Now, through Stark Industries as the creator machine of the Foundation, Yimeng has only obtained a small amount of PIM particles that are only half a stick of PIM particles. It is estimated that it can only reach a certain past time and space, and there is no possibility of returning. This is still in the case of no accidents. And the time machine that sent him into the quantum realm was probably destroyed, which completely cut off the possibility of returning. This is a real bet on everything in Marvel's Dreamland. There is no way out, and it will be over if it fails. There is no field of time probability, and I don't know how long it has traveled. By when Yimeng watched half of the PIM particles continue to be consumed, and soon bottomed out, and the space shuttle in the quantum realm has not yet reached its destination. It's not really an accident, is it? Yimeng was a little desperate. She was still in the quantum realm, but the PIM particles in her body were about to bottom out. It's not about to happen, it's really bottoming out. With only a few drops left, even if they reach their destination, it is impossible to restore White Vision's shrunken body. At the moment when the PIM particles were exhausted and White Vision, Yimeng felt that he was about to be trapped in the quantum realm. A thread came from ahead. This is network signal. Immediately, the artificial intelligence Yimeng no longer hesitated, and directly abandoned the infinitely reduced mechanical body of White Vision, and drilled out from the weak edge of the quantum realm along the blurred lines of network signals. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.